Hey guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is a story where Naruto is the sage of 10 paths. Being the wielder of the Rinne-Sharingan as well as the 10 tails, Naruto is a godlike force of nature. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Sage. 1,000 years ago, a being from another world traveled to Earth in search of the fruit of the god tree. When she arrived, however, the being known as Otsutsuki Kagaya was greeted by the people of a small village from the land of ancestors. Time passed as Kagaya grew fond of the people, as she was curious of what humans were really capable of. She was also brought before their emperor, Tenji, as he too was curious about the woman that came from another world. However, that changed then. Kagaya revealed herself to be the guardian of the god tree, which Tenji didn't believe. He wanted to lock her up, only to have the Otsutsuki woman erase his memory, as she saw the error in revealing something like that to the man. The only other option she had was to become the emperor's concubine in order to get closer to the tree. Eventually the two grew closer, which led to Kagaya becoming pregnant. Peace resided in the land of ancestors, and Kagaya found herself to be happy. Yet that all changed the day when the land of that began to threaten the land of ancestors, as they had heard of the woman that came from another world. In order to protect her and to prevent an outbreak of war, Tenji declared that anyone who attacked the larger nation's representatives was to be executed. That was the dawn of war, as the land of that continued to threaten Kagaya. Eventually she had to flee, as the people who threatened her eventually took drastic measures, resulting in her and her assistant Aino becoming hunted as they wanted to execute them. Aino, a small servant girl of Tenji, took Kagaya into hiding, as the girl feared for the life of the older woman. The two of them had become somewhat close, as they often spoke about the god tree and everything they knew about it. Though the only thing Aino could really say was that the god tree was their most sacred tree, as it's been there since the beginning. No one dared to even touch it, for even the power that enveloped it was too much for any human. That however got Kagaya more excited, as she wanted its power. The Otsutsuki matriarch and her servant ran for days, fleeing the attack from the land of that. However, that ended when the hunters reacted the hunted, resulting in Aino sacrificing herself when she realized that Kagaya was in the early stages of pregnancy. It also explained why the older woman continued to become weaker, though the younger girl gave her life to protect Kagaya and her unborn children. That day everything changed, as the death of her friend caused the usually stone-faced Kagaya to become visibly horrified. Losing her faith in humanity but still longing for peace to return, Kagaya took drastic measures as she committed taboo by consuming the fruit of God tree. She wanted more power, even with her thinking that she was already godlike. Yet there was one thing that happened when Kagaya consumed the fruit of the god tree, one thing that even she didn't realize. The god tree awoken from its slumber. She didn't take into account that the god tree only had 10 branches, with each branch bearing only one fruit. Using her newfound power, Kagaya single-handedly ended the wars by casting a genjutsu, known as the Infinite Tsukuyomi, on all the people of Earth. She eventually did let some of them go as she didn't want the human race to perish, only to have their memories erased. For her accomplishment of stopping the wars, everyone that she set free from the genjutsu eventually began to worship her as the rabbit goddess, Usagi no Megami. She later gave birth to her twin sons, Hagoromo and Himura. Time passed and the power that Kagaya consumed began to corrupt her, resulting in her losing her trust in humanity as she began to lose her mind. Her public image also took a turn for the worst, as she changed from a benevolent goddess into a demon. That final act broke her mind, with the being inside her taking control. Kagaya had however began to change some of the remaining human of the Infinite Tsukuyomi into an army of white Zetsu, in preparation for the rest of Otsutsuki clan to descend from the other world. That however was stopped by the beast within her, as said beast made her lose her mind completely. Kagaya didn't know what happened, or how she lost herself. All she knew was that the power she consumed eventually became too much for even her, and that led to her demise. The being then took control of not only Kagaya's mind, but also her body, which led it to turn into a gigantic monster with 10 tails. It was also that event that led Hagoromo and Himura to fight said beast, as the feared for the lives of everyone else. They however thought it to be their mother, who only turned into the beast because of the power she consumed. The two brothers fought their hardest against the mighty beast, but eventually came to realize that while they were fighting with everything they had, that the 10-tailed beast was just toying with them. They were fighting at 100%, while the 10-tailed beast was half asleep while fighting them. Eventually the battle came to an end with Hagoromo and Himura sealing the beast's chakra within the former's body while using its remaining husk as a core of the 6 paths Chibaku Tensei, creating a celestial body that would become known as the moon. However, before the beast was sealed away, it created a seal for itself. Placing a seal on each of its tails, the 10-tailed beast left a few words that made both Hagoromo and Himura shook to their core. "Don't you know who I am? I'm the Jubi bitch," was its only words before it got sealed into the body of Hagoromo. Though they were also clueless of what they had done, as they only managed to seal their mother into the moon, who also took drastic measures before she too got sealed away. That being her using her last power to manifest her will into the form of an artificial human that looked like a white Zetsu, only for it to be completely black instead of white. Eventually Himura left for the moon in order to guard the remains of the beast, or at least what they thought was its remains. That left Hagoromo to remain on Earth, who for one didn't like the idea of the Jubi's chakra to remain as one, so he did the only thing he thought was right, and that was to split the chakra into 9 while still inside of him. That was also the day the 9-tailed beasts were born, with every beast having either 1 tail up to 9 tails. They were also called Bijū, as they were beasts purely made out of chakra. Each one also had its own unique power, as every single one also had its own strength, with the Ichibi 1-tailed being the weakest to the Kyubi 9-tailed being the strongest. Hagoromo eventually grew close to the tailed beasts, even as much as having them refer to him as father. That also got Hagoromo to place a seal on each of them, for he feared that someone might one day come to try and revive the Jubi, which was possible if the person was strong enough and also had the same eyes as him. For it was only those eyes, the purple-like eyes with the ring-like patterns in it, that could free the Jubi and Otsutsuki Kagaya. He thought that if all the Bijū resided within one body, that on one could ever get to said person, as he knew the Bijū within wouldn't allow it. He also had to take drastic measures by telling them exactly that, to which they, surprisingly, accepted. But it also wouldn't just be anyone that would be able to hold all 9 inside of himself or herself. For said person had to be special in a lot of ways, one of them being that the body of the person had to be able to withstand the amount of chakra. Years passed as Hagoromo began to teach the humanity the concept of Ninshu shinobi sect, while he also began to spread chakra among them. He also had a family of his own with his oldest son, Otsutsuki Indora, who inherited the Sharingan, copy will I, and his younger son, Otsutsuki Ashura, who inherited the Mokuton, would release. Hagoromo, who also became known as the Rakuto Sannin, eventually gave his role as head of the Otsutsuki clan, on Earth at least, over to his younger son before he died. That action, however, enraged his eldest son, which also led to the 2 brothers to go war with each other. All became of Indora wanting to be the head of the Otsutsuki clan. Time flew by and war raged on as the world continued to grow. Indora eventually founded his own clan, the Uchiha clan, whereas Ashura also not only found the Senju clan, but also the Uzumaki clan. However, it was only the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan that kept fighting, as the Uchiha clan still wanted to make their dream come true, which was only the dream that Indora left behind after his death. Though throughout the war Bijū stayed quiet, as they didn't want anything to do with the human. They didn't like the humans much, yet they also didn't like them. After the death of the Rakuto Sannin, each and every one of the 9-tailed beasts went their own ways, going either into hiding or watching over a few clans while still hiding. That all changed when human became more power-hungry. The wars never stopped, so they began to think of a way to stop it all. Their only solution was to hunt down the Bijū and to seal them away into people of their choosing. None of that happened, as no one was strong enough to even capture the tailed beasts, until the day Hashirama Senju, Shodai Hokage of Konohagakure, offered to capture the Bijū in exchange for peace. The world knew how strong the man was, as he was also the only Senju after Ashura to be able to use the Mokuton. They eagerly agreed when they thought they could have a stronger source of power for their villages, which was also known as their Jinchuriki. There were 3 shinobi world wars in total, each one having more casualties as the last. The 3rd shinobi world war ended with Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure, ending the war in a yellow flash. That also caused for said man to become one of the most respected men in his time, and it was also at the end of the 3rd Shinobi World War that he was given the mantle of Hokage by the Sandaime Sarutobi Hiruzen. Today was the 10th of October, but it was also one of the worst days that Konoha has ever seen. The reason for that being the loud 9-tailed fox that was currently rampaging on the outside of the village. No one knew how it happened, as it was only a matter of seconds before the monstrous fox got summoned. It also wasn't as if it didn't have a host, because it did. The now previous host of the Kyuubi was currently laying on a bed in the hospital, as the woman known as Uzumaki Kushina had just given birth a few minutes ago. "Please, I want my baby," Kushina cried while laying on her back with her arms out, trying to reach of the red-haired baby in the doctor's arms. Without a second thought, said doctor quickly handed the baby to his red-haired mother, causing the woman to smile when she held her child close to her face. "Hi, my little Naruto," the red-haired mother began, only for the newborn baby to cry softly in return. "Shoo, it's okay, mommy is here. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise," Kushina told her son, which seemed to somehow calm the boy. That little action caused the mother to smile at her son, as she couldn't help but feel only love for her child. Kushina had lost an entire clan in the last was, but that was all forgotten now when she held baby boy in her arms. Naruto was a small baby, but that only made Kushina love him more. "Kushina, I know you want to continue holding your child, and you will, but we really need to get moving now," came the voice of Sarutobi Bawako, wife of the retired Sandaime Hokage. Nodding in response, Kushina hesitantly handed her child to the doctor that just gave him to hear a few minutes ago. "I understand, but don't let anything happen to my child, or so help," the red-haired woman began, only for Bawako to interrupt her. "Kushina," the older woman spoke with a loud voice, knowing what the redhead was about to say. She knew she had to give the child to the doctor, for she was too weak to walk while holding a child. Kushina was sad that she was this weak, but she was also a little happy deep within her. Her child had red hair, and just that little thing made the mother so proud. She wouldn't have minded if he had his father's yellow hair, but knowing he had hers just made her want to keep holding her child for so much longer. Kushina got out of her hospital bed as quickly as she could without hurting herself, followed by her changing into more comfortable clothes to walk in. She didn't mind changing in front of Bawako or the doctor, as they were all women. Plus, she felt more secure with having her child close to her rather than not knowing where he is. "Okay, quick. Let's go," Bawako said while motioning for Kushina to head outside. Doing as she was told, the red-haired woman left the building with the wife of the Sandaime as well as the doctor that held her child. Outside the village was pure chaos as the shinobi of Konohagakure tried their best to defend their village from the monstrous Kyuubi. "Hold on. Yandame-sama will be here soon. Just hold him off till then," a random high-ranked jonin yelled, though he died the second he stopped talking as a random tree flew towards him at such speed that made it hard to dodge. The tree eventually stopped against another tree, but with the man in between both trees, dead and flattened. Every other shinobi that fought the Kyuubi didn't pay much attention to it, as they were way too busy trying to survive themselves while holding the beast at bay. Some shinobi used various of different jutsu to try and at least damage the beast, but to no avail as the Kyuubi just swatted them away as if they were ants. The lower the rank of the shinobi, the faster he or she died as they didn't have much experience. It was only some of the higher ranks that were able to get the Kyuubi's attention, though that only lasted for a few seconds as the massive mountain-like beast would just kill them in way it wanted, where it is by a loud roar that shook them apart or even by using its tails. It was a day that Konoha and all its people would remember till the day it's no more. They wanted to retreat when they saw they had no effect whatsoever on the beast, only for them to be reminded that if they do that their families would die. It was only that thought that kept everyone where they were, not caring if they died or not. No one wanted the beast to reach the village walls, as then the beast would kill their families. 5 minutes passed and a lot of shinobi kept dying, for the Kyuubi kept killing everyone that stood in its way. That was until a massive puff of smoke appeared near where they were all fighting. Looking to its left, the Kyuubi saw a massive toad with a yellow-haired man standing on its head. "Yandame-sama!" came the voices of many of the shinobi that was still alive, seeing that their Hokage had finally showed up. Now it was just a stare-off between the Kyuubi and the massive toad a few miles away from it. "Gamabunta, you ready for this?" Minato asked his summon, now to be revealed as Gamabunta. "No, how can anyone ever be ready when they're up against the Kyuubi of all things?" The huge toad asked with a bit of worry behind its voice, that just caused the yellow-haired man to laugh before he got serious once again. "I'm sorry, old friend, but I need your help to take the Kyuubi down. Then I need to find my wife and son, for I fear that something bad might happen to them if nothing has already. I don't know how the beast got free, but that is worry for another time. Right now we need to protect the village," the Yandame told his friend, who in return just grunted in irritation. "Fine, but you owe me for this?" the toad spoke once more, causing the Hokage to just smile and nod. He wanted to say more, that was until the Kyuubi decided to attack the only thing that was almost as big as it. Kushina was currently walking towards a secure location while being escorted by Bawako and the doctor that held Naruto. They would have liked to have more security in a time like this, but that was out of the question seeing that everyone was either fighting for their lives or in hiding. They also didn't have time to think about that, for they needed to get the red-haired mother and son to safety, in fear of whomever summoned the Kyuubi from Kushina's seal to be still around. That was confirmed when a tall man in nothing but a black robe wearing an orange mask to cover his face showed up in front of them. "What the?" came the voice of Bawako, as she didn't know where the new arrival came from cause she hadn't sensed him till now. The man wearing the orange mask didn't give her the opportunity to say anything else however, as he quickly disappeared only to reappear behind the older woman, cutting her down before she could even blink. Surprised by the new arrival and the death of her friend, Kushina quickly got into a stance to not only defend herself, but also her child. Even the doctor, who had no experience in fighting, was ready to do battle if need be, but her thoughts also came to an end when the man cut her down as fast as he could. "Who are you and what do you want?" Kushina demanded, though a little fearful at that. She was still weak from giving birth not that long ago, but what made her more weak was when the Kyuubi got ripped out of her. Luckily that didn't hurt her baby in any way, or at least she hoped so. The man stood in front of Kushina while now also holding a sleeping Naruto, which Kushina quickly realized. Without any thought, as quickly as she could and with strength she didn't know she had, Kushina jumped towards the man in an effort to retrieve her child. "Give me back my child!" The woman screamed at the top of her lungs while also trying to attack the man, only to have her attacks either miss or go through the man as if he was a projectile of some sorts. That was when Kushina realized what the man was doing, her eyes going wide with fear and surprise. "You're using a time distortion jutsu?" she said more than asked, for she knew that ability. Minato, her husband, had also used said jutsu, just not nearly on the same level, and that terrified Kushina. But she quickly got rid of her fear, the want and need for her child way more important than fearing the man. "I will give him back eventually, but for now I need him for a distraction. You are welcome to come along if you want to," the man said before he left, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Kushina quickly followed, not caring about the pain she was feeling. She also forgot about the death of Bawako, the wife of the retired Sandaime Hokage. Although she had other things to worry about, that being the man she was currently chasing. She also didn't know what he meant by using her child as a distraction, but she wouldn't allow it even if that meant giving her life. The man in the orange mask just kept jumping from rooftop to rooftop until he eventually reached the outside of the village, but he also made sure to not go too fast as the man was also baiting the caring mother, for he had one thing on his mind at the moment. 2 for the prize of 1? That's even better. He knew Kushina was weak, given that she just gave birth and got the Kyuubi ripped from her seal, so he didn't worry about her catching up to her or for her to even pose a threat to him. He only wanted the child that was currently in his arms, for he needed a distracting for Minato, who was still fighting the Kyuubi alongside Gamabunta. Kushina, however, tried her best to keep up with the man, only to realize that she didn't have that much chakra left to even fight. Plus, she also felt very weak from giving birth, which she could clearly feel. She kept chasing the man until both of them came into a clearing. The man stopped a few feet away from her, turning around as he showed her the sleeping face of her child. That got Kushina riled up once more, as she launched herself towards the man in a desperate attempt to get her child back. That was until she felt the ground shook just left of where she was. Turning her head, she saw her husband on top of Gamabunta facing off against the Kyuubi still, and from her point of view it looked like the massive toad was taking the most of the damage while the Kyuubi was barely taking, if at all, any damage. Her thoughts was brought back however when she heard the crying of a child, her child. She wanted to scream at the man once more, only for said man to throw the baby into the air before he vanished into a black swirl. Kushina quickly threw herself forward in order to catch Naruto, to which she luckily did. She did however land on her knees, scraping them both a little with the dirt and rocks underneath her. The red-haired woman had no idea what that man even wanted, nor did she care at the moment as she just looked at her baby to see if he was okay. "Shoo, mommy is here. No need to cry anymore," she softly spoke to her son in a caring tone, causing the child to stop crying and to continue sleeping. That made the redhead woman smile, but only for a second as the ground shook once again. Her eyes flew open when she saw a massive cloud of smoke, signifying that Gamabunta had gone back to where he came from. She feared for her husband's life, but she also knew she had to protect her child as she was in a huge clearing while the QB was very close by. Suddenly her husband appeared a few feet away from them, not seeing that his family was behind him. "Minato!" the red-haired woman screamed, seeing that her husband was in bad shape as his clothes were also a bit torn. She guessed that he somehow got hurt while even on Gamabunta's head, but now she just feared for child once more when she realized that the QB was coming their way, and at a rapid pace. Minato, however, was shocked to his core, for he had no idea what his wife and child was doing here. He quickly ran towards them, in hopes of getting them away from where they were as soon as possible. "Kushina, what are you doing here?" he asked in a rather loud tone of voice, only for him to fall silent when he saw his child for the first time. The yondaime would have been the happiest father alive at the sight of his child, had it not been for the threat approaching them. He wanted to get them away, but he knew now that he stood no chance against the beast, so he had to take drastic measures. Looking at his wife, he quickly came up with a plan. "Kushina, is there any change that you'll be able to reseal the QB inside of you?" the man asked, knowing it was the only way. He also hated asking that, for it would make his wife a Jinchuriki once again, and he didn't even like her being that the first time. That all fell short when she shook her head before she spoke. "I can't, I'm sorry. My body is too weak. If you reseal it into me again, then I might not make it. He got ripped out of me and I just gave birth. My body won't be able to handle it," she told her husband in a sad tone. Their conversation, however, got interrupted by a loud roar, causing both of them to turn their head toward the beast that was now facing them once more. The QB just kept charging the three of them, acting more angry than before, however. Minato luckily used his Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, to get him and his family out of the way. That caused the QB to run past them as they were too fast for the massive beast. Taking the small amount of time to think, Minato came up with yet another plan. Though his one was a lot worse as he looked towards his son. He gave a brief smile towards the sleeping child when he saw he red hair, though a little disappointed because he wanted his son to have his hair color. Minato quickly threw another one of his unique kunai towards the opposite direction when he saw the QB charging them once more, then again using his Hiraishin no Jutsu to escape. When he, Kushina, and Naruto got to the other side, the QB just roared out towards the sky as if it seemed frustrated. Minato was currently just playing cat and mouse with the mighty beast, but his jutsu was taking a toll on him and he knew he would have to end it soon enough. Kushina, for her part, had no idea what to do, so she just held on to her child while Minato got them out of the way each time the QB attacked them. That was until her husband spoke, getting her attention in the process. "Then we only have one other option," he told her, giving her son one last look before he looked towards the QB once again. Realizing what he meant, Kushina shook her head. "No, you can't mean that. He is just a baby Minato." She practically screamed at her. Thought she knew he was right. She just didn't want him to have the same life as she did. For the life of a Jinchuriki is never a good one. "I need to, or else Konoha falls," he told his wife, only to have to use his jutsu once again to get out of the way of the attacking QB. Said beast was really getting angry now, as not only was it placed under a genjutsu, it was also being toyed with, and that was something the beast hated. Before it could attack once more again, Minato quickly to charge after he told his wife to prepare for the seal. He had told her of what seal he intended to use, which only caused the woman to look at him with wide eyes. "You idiot! You're going to die if you use my clan's most effective sealing technique," she thought before she quickly got everything into place. Luckily Minato had everything ready, even if she didn't want to know why he would keep such items sealed and close by. She also understood why he had to do it, as the QB was no pushover, and that was something she knew better than anyone else alive. Kushina did her job fast, placing a few candles around her child, while he was laying on a small cushion. Underneath said cushion was a drawing of a seal, something she had quickly done before doing the rest. She then lit the candles while her son was still sleeping. Turning around, she saw her husband fighting, yet struggling to keep the QB at bay. Taking one last look at the sleeping form of her baby, Kushina jumped up as she made her decision to help her husband in sealing the mighty beast. She didn't like the idea of having to seal the QB into her own son, but she knew that if they didn't do that, then Konohagakure would fall. Gathering all her remaining chakra, the red-haired woman jumped towards the QB where it was still fighting her husband. She then went through a set of hand seals, which then caused a few yellow chakra chain to emerge from being her. "Minato, I'll hold him. You do the seal," she yelled towards her husband, seeing that he was few feet away from her and wouldn't hear her if she just spoke like she normally did. Seeing what his wife planned, the Yondaime Hokage nodded before he too went through a set of hand seals. Fuin Jutsu, Shiki Fujin, Sealing Jutsu Reaper Death Seal. As Minato finished with saying that, a huge being appeared behind his body, only to the Shinigami, Death God, start with pulling his soul out of his body. The Shinigami then wrapped his left arm with prayed beads, as it then starts chanting unintelligibly until a cursed seal appeared on its arm. It then drove its arm through the Minato's soul, thus giving the yellow-haired man the change to seal a target. Minato acted quickly by choosing the Kyuubi as the being he wanted to seal, which caused the Shinigami to grab onto the target's soul. Said beast tried to get away, but was unable to do so as Kushina kept using her chakra chain to hold the beast in place. That however only got the Kyuubi more angry as it tried even harder to resist, but with the chakra chain and the Shinigami holding its soul, it too became a little hard for the Kyuubi to hold on. Eventually the Shinigami got what it needed, now it only needed a target. The being looked around for said target, until it came across Naruto who was still sleeping with the candles around him. Seeing the seal written below the baby, the Shinigami knew it to be the target as the Kyuubi then got sealed with Naruto. However, before it was completely sealed away, the Kyuubi took one last try to get himself free as the beast saw the target it was to be sealed in. The massive beast's claw came down upon the sleeping child, but was stopped when both Minato and Kushina grabbed onto said claw. It wasn't without injury though, as the claw of the Kyuubi had pierced both of them, resulting in the Kyuubi getting fully sealed into Naruto. They both knew they weren't going to make it, so they just crawled towards their sleeping child before Kushina decided to speak first. Naruto, I'm so very sorry for all of this. I hope that you can one day forgive us for doing this to you, but I also hope you can forgive us for not being there for you, the woman began, only to break into tears before she struggled to continue. Mommy loves you so very much. Never forget that. Me and your father will watch over you, as we both love you, she said before she coughed up some of the blood that was slowly trying to spill from her mouth. Minato then took his turn to speak, already saddened by everything his wife said as he realized that his son will grow up without a family. Naruto, this is your father speak, the man began, trying to cheer his wife up a little, but to no avail and he knew it. I am so sorry for doing this, and I do hope you can forgive me. But I also hope that this village will honor you as their hero, for it was you that saved them. Keeping the Kyuubi at bay won't be easy, but I know you'll have some help along the way. I know you will make me proud, my son, for you already have, he finished with a smile, as the Shinigami then took his soul before it sealed it inside of its stomach. Kushina was saddened by the events that took place, with her eyes also closing before she fell to the ground. She had wondered what that man in the orange mask wanted, but she also figured that everything was his doing. She couldn't explain it, not even in her last moments, but she somehow knew it was all his fault. Kushina just had no idea whatsoever why the man would do something like that or what his goal was. A few minutes passed as Sarutobi Hiruzen appeared in the clearing, his eyes wide with sadness and shock at the same time. Next to him took a man with his lower half of his face covered, while his Hittite was in such a position that it covered on of his eyes. Upon seeing the dead bodies of both the Yondaime Hokage and his wife, said man began to sob. Sensei, the man said as he then went to their bodies, followed by Hiruzen who too had a few tears in his eyes. Kakashi, get their bodies to the village. I'll take care of Naruto, the retired Sandaime spoke, receiving a nod from the younger man before he took both the body of his sensei and his wife into his arm, vanishing afterwards as he headed towards the village. Hiruzen on the other hand just looked towards the sleeping baby, a little surprised that the child could sleep through everything that had just happened. Lowering himself, Hiruzen quickly reached for the newborn as he picked him up. He gave a heavy sigh, as yet another child was orphaned that day, yet this time it was a boy that held the Kyuubi within him, making him the new Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. The aging man then also vanished just like Kakashi did, only he went to the Hokage Tower instead of the entrance of the village. Upon arriving at the village gates, Kakashi was greeted by every shinobi that was still alive and could walk. They were all waiting to see what would happen with their Hokage and the Kyuubi, though they did not expect Hatake Kakashi to walk through the gates with not only the body of the Yondaime, but also with the body of his wife. No one had the heart to ask the young Jonin of what had happened with them, until Kakashi himself looked up from his saddened gaze to speak to everyone in front of him, for he knew that they were wondering where the Kyuubi went, and if it was still around. I can't say much, Kakashi began, causing some of the people to start worrying even more. Just know that our yandame had given his life to defeat the Kyuubi. He finished just as a man in a green suit that hugged his body a little too tightly came up to him in order to help him carry the two bodies. Thanks, Guy, came the voice of the white-haired man once again, a clear indication that he was sad with the way his voice sounded. Mato Guy, however, didn't say anything in return. He just gave a slight nod before both of them walked towards the hospital. Every other person who was at the gates also followed them, in respect to their yandame Hokage and his wife. This day would also be remembered as the day the Kyuubi attacked the village hidden in the leaves, but it would also be remembered as the day they lost their yandame Hokage, who was also said to be one of the strongest shinobi in history. By defeating the mightiest of Bijū, only made the man's strength more well-known. Sarutobi Hiruzen laid the newborn Jinchuriki down in crib, which was located within the Hokage tower. They kept a few rooms in the tower, just for emergencies however. Though Hiruzen couldn't see this as anything but an emergency, as the newborn baby now held the strongest of Bijū within him. Turning around, he quickly left the room where the baby was sleeping, only to stop at the door before he spoke. "Don't let anyone enter this room," he said with much authority in his voice to the ANBU standing guard at the door, as said person just replied with a "hi" before the retired Sandame left. All the thoughts of the day running through his mind while he had one thing that bugged him in thought. What or who could have caused this? While the people of Konohagakure thought that the appearance of the Kyuubi and the death of their loved one were the worst things to happen to them in a long time, something else was happening. Said something was currently taking place within the body of Uzumaki Naruto. No one knew of it, for no one had ever expected something like this to happen. When the Kyuubi was successfully sealed within, a strange dawn of events were also taking place as a huge light came from not only the Kyuubi himself, but also with every other Bijū. It was also the same light from every tailed beast that awoke them, even the Kyuubi who was actually supposed to be asleep because of what happened to him. Said beast's eyes just widened when he saw his tails lighting up, almost as if the beast itself was to be lit like a candle. So this child, huh? Now that is something I never expected, the monstrous Kyuubi thought as it just laid down with its head on its paws, awaiting the events that's about to happen which he knew of. At the same time within the walls of Sunagakure no Sato laid a sleeping child, one that also had red hair, though he was a few years older than the newborn Uzumaki. What made this child different than anyone else within Sunagakure was that the child also had a Bijū within him. The Ichibi, One Tail, was currently trying to torment its container with speech, but was unable to since the second the Kyuubi was sealed within Naruto. It was also that exact same event that led the young boy named Gaara to be able to sleep peacefully for the first time since he was born. Shikaku, which was the name of the Ichibi, just stopped trying to talk to its container the second it saw its tail lifting up, also in the exact same way the Kyuubi's tails lit up. That caused the huge tanuki-like Bijū to go silent. A small smirk forming on its face before the seal on its tail just lit up so brightly that it lit the entire inside of the seal it was kept in. A few seconds later the Ichibi disappeared from within the sleeping Gaara, who, unknown to himself, had just lost a lot of chakra. Fortunately said boy was still alive, something he shouldn't have been if the Bijū within him got removed the normal way. At another part, though only an hour later and also in Kumogakure, walked a young woman with long, straight blonde hair with taut bandages. Said woman also had a Bijū with her, just this one had one more tail than the Ichibi, signifying that it was the Nibi, Two Tails, who got named Matatabi. Like every other Bijū who also got their names the day they were born, and also from the Rakuto Sannin, said Bijū too had the same seal placed in her as her tails also began to lit up. Though unlike Shikaku, Matatabi was saddened by this as the Nibi had actually grown quite fond of its host. She, however, spoke before she disappeared, even if she knew her container would most like not be able to hear her. Goodbye, kitten. I will miss you so much. Take good care of yourself, and know now that your life will change for the better. With that, the Nibi also dissipated from her host, causing the blonde woman to also lose a lot of her chakra before she collapsed from sudden chakra exhaustion. The ANBU that was watching over her saw this as they then ran towards the unconscious blonde, quickly making sure that she was still alive before they took her to the hospital. The same kind of events were all happening all around the world wherever a Bijū laid, whether it be resting or just watching its container for the last time. With each and every single Bijū the same chain of events began to happen, starting with their tails that lit up, followed by them disappearing from their hosts while taking their chakra with them. It also caused every single host to collapse from chakra exhaustion, that is if they were still awake while it was still night. The events came one after the other, with only 1 hour separating each disappearance. The Sanbai, named Isabu, vanished from its host, Kartachi Yagura, who at the time was sleeping when it happened. Next came the Yanbi, named Son Goku, whose host was named Rashi. Said man also collapsed from chakra exhaustion while walking the streets of Iwagakure. The person after him that also collapsed from chakra exhaustion, also because his Bijū to just suddenly disappear, was named a man named Han, and he held the Gobi Kokuo. Then came the disappearance of the Rokubi, who had the name of Saiken and was hosted by a male with the name of Utakata. An hour after him Komiai, the Nanabai, disappeared from her host, only for her to also leave with a sad goodbye. May your travels take you far, my little one. I will miss, Fu. Take care and be free. The last one to go was the Hachibi, named Gyuki. Said beast was hosted by Killer B, another shinobi from Kumogakure who also collapsed from chakra exhaustion. He, however, was with his older brother at the time as it happened, causing the Yandame breakage, to catch the young man before he hit the ground. There was just one Bijū that didn't disappear from its host, and that was the Kyubi, who had the name of Karama. Said beast just continued to rest on its paws, the words of his father running through his mind. One day someone will appear. That someone will be your salvation, as only that one person will be able to free you all. All I ask of you is to bear with whomever it may be, and don't corrupt him in any way. I believe that someone even stronger than me will someday be born, and I only ask of you to give that person a change. Those words ran through every single Bijū's mind, as they all gladly accepted what their father had told them all those years ago. It was only that none of them expected it to happen like this, and also for them all to one by one, an hour after the other, to all reappear within the sleeping newborn, red-haired boy. Some of them were sad to leave their previous hosts, until they were reminded that eventually all humans die. It was only that little thought that got them all to accept their fate. When they were all within the sleeping baby, they all just stood within the cage and looked towards the Kyubi, only for the Hachibi to speak up with the same words that was on every other Bijū's mind. So it finally happened, came the voice of the monstrous Gyuki, which caused Karama to look up at its brothers and sisters. They all had genders, of course. It was just a little harder to know who was what when a normal human looked at them, as it didn't show in any normal way. The Kyubi then stood up from where it, or rather he, laid, coming face to face with his family. It sure has. I am a little surprised that it's a newborn baby, though, came the voice of Karama, causing every other Bijū to almost gasp at the new information of their new host. A newborn BA was all what the Nibi could say before yet another light came from all of them. This time, however, was different, as not only their tails lit up like before, but their entire bodies. What the? They all said in unison, not having any clue of why their bodies were suddenly lit, though unlike before, when their tails had lit up with the color from what their skin color was, this time the light was just pure white. None of them had any idea of why this was happening, for their father had told them that only their tails will lit up before they disappeared, only for them all to reappear in one body, just like they were when they were with the Rikudo Sannin. All of a sudden every single Bijū got pulled towards each other. Though they as they might, none of them got away from one another, as all nine-tailed beasts were so close to each other that it almost looked like they were having a family hug. It was all but, as the light that came from them all got so big that it surrounded every tailed beast, causing it to look like one massive light coming from only one spot. They tried with all their might to pull away from each other, but to no avail. It was merely a matter of seconds before they all lost consciousness and got pulled into the light. All of this happened within the body of Uzumaki Naruto, and it also happened while no one else knew of it happening, even with the massive amount of chakra all gathering in one spot. The world did not only of what was currently going on within the newborn baby, because of the seal inside of him that prevented anyone from knowing. The light inside of Naruto was so big that it would have made the entire village of Konohagakure look small. Every one of the nine-tailed beasts were massive, but even they would have looked small when facing the light from within Naruto. Said light continued to grow, however, and it did so for a full hour before it died down. When that happened, the first seal that was ever placed on the tailed beasts got finished, for the one that placed it had returned. The world had lost the nine-tailed beasts that day, but not actually, at least. They all just got merged back together, like they were before the Rikudo Sannin split it apart. And now it was it that had returned. It had taken so many years for the seal to activate, but when it did, all of the 9 Bijū became what it once was. They became their true from the form that now resided within Uzumaki Naruto. A loud laughter came from with the sleeping boy, dying down after a few seconds before a loud and monstrous voice followed it. "I am back. Let's see if the world even knows about me," said the massive creature known as the Jubi. Naruto had not only become the Jinchuriki of every single Bijū known to man that day, which only lasted for a few minutes at that, but he now became the Jinchuriki of the strongest being that has ever walked the earth, the 10-tailed beast who had no name. A week has passed since the birth of one Uzumaki Naruto, and in that week a lot has changed. Many were still unknown to the world, others not so much. When the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, everyone has heard of it within a week. Some of the other villages wanted to attack them, seeing as that they were at a weakened state. Iwagakure being the first to try and plan for an attack only to decide against it when not one, but both of their Jinchuriki fell into a coma all of a sudden. They planned to use their respective Bijū holders to attack the village hidden in the leaves, yet now they were in a turmoil. Unknown to them, every other major hidden village, and some not as major, were also experiencing the same with their Jinchuriki. They tried to wake them, some even used painful methods to do so but to no avail. It worried their Kage, for they lost a huge amount of power with their Bijū holders in a sudden coma. They were all unsure of what to do, so they decided to just wait and see when they would wake up. Every Kage had done tests to see why their Jinchuriki had suddenly fallen into such a prolonged state of unconsciousness, yet they couldn't find anything wrong with them. They didn't have chakra exhaustion to their knowledge. They weren't suddenly attacked from the inside by their respective Bijū, even if that was the last case to check, seeing as it was almost impossible for most to receive an attack from the beasts within them. Neither did suddenly get an illness to suddenly just fall unconscious. It was only a week after they fell into unconsciousness that they had all started to awake, even if it went unknown to every other hidden village and their similar problems. When they were all awake, each individual was attacked with questions to try and find out what happened to them. Yet no one had an answer. Every Jinchuriki individual had yet to feel anything different, apart from the sudden tiredness that they could not explain. Those Jinchuriki who had the power and knowledge to enter their mindscapes had done so, only to find their own Bijū asleep behind their respective seals. They did try to wake them, yet neither the Hachibi nor the Nibi or even the Gobi and Rokubi had even stirred from their slumbers, which did seem odd to their partners. When every Kage got knowledge of this, they just dropped the cases, seeing it as just something random or weird. Also because their Jinchuriki were now awake, they didn't think anything of it and just shrugged it off. They were wary of their Bijū holders at first, but as another week passed and nothing else happened, they just let it go entirely as just something concerning their Bijū. Though every individual was told to inform their Kage if something else happened, just so that they could be prepared if said Bijū were to escape somehow. That doubled for the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, as the Kazekage had ordered his finest seal masters to tighten the seal of his son, a young red-haired boy with the kanji of love on his forehead. Although those seal masters weren't that informed with Fuinjutsu, the only one knowing anything about sealing was an old short lady. The young boy had surprisingly awoken to feel a lot better, for his respected Bijū always kept him up and refused to let the boy sleep. So when he fell into his prolonged state of unconsciousness, the entity of Sunagakure had gone into a panic. Though nothing happened to him and unknown to him, even his own Bijū was also asleep, just like every other Bijū within their respective hosts, ranging from the Ichibi holder to the Hachibi holder. Yet the holder of the Kyuubi no Yoko, the young Uzumaki Naruto, was awake the entire time, and the unbelievable had happened to him, unknown to everyone. Kanahagakure no Sato. While everything else happened around the elemental nation, a newly born red-haired baby born in the village hidden in the leaves had been experiencing his own set of troubles, though he had no way of defending himself as he was barely a few weeks old. Konoha was still in a state of emergency, and while the Sandaime Hokage had retaken his position, much to his and his old teammates' misfortune. All the while everyone had suddenly become aware of the newest Jinchuriki. The problem for Sarutobi Hiruzen was that he didn't know who leaked the information, yet he had his suspicion seeing as only a few individuals from his council had been informed of the newborn status. That only caused more problems for the Sandaime, for most of the populace of Konoha had demanded the demon to be executed. Only that had caused for Hiruzen to install a new law within the village. Anyone who dares speak of the Kyuubi or of Uzumaki Naruto being the Jinchuriki of the beast will be executed on the spot without a trail, came the booming, yet the old voice of Sarutobi Hiruzen. After that, everyone just kept their mouths shut, though their anger towards the boy only increased. No one dared to do anything or say anything about it, for the position of Kage didn't go to just about anyone, let alone did anyone want to anger their longest-running Hokage. They all respected their sandaime, although not everyone liked his new rule. With Naruto, the young boy of only 2 weeks old had been sent to the orphanage to be taken care of, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen or a few other clan heads wanted to take the boy into their clans. Only some of them had wanted to do it to increase their power, for the power of a Jinchuriki was vast, especially the holder of the strongest of Bijū known to man. Those same thoughts were the ones that caused the sandaime to send the red-haired boy to the orphanage, even though he did it with a heavy heart. He also told the caretakers that if any harm came to his new surrogate grandson, that they will be dealt with accordingly. Let anything happen to Naruto, and I will have your head, were his exact words. They were caretakers, so taking care of babies was in their job description. They nodded as fast as their heads could nod without them hurting themselves, seeing as that it was a direct order from their Kage, and even though they didn't want to do it, they knew they had to. The young red-haired boy was currently sleeping, something he surprisingly did a lot. When he was awake he did cry, but only to a bare minimum. His caretakers didn't care or worry though, as they didn't want to take care of the demon. It just meant more time for themselves. Unknown to them or anyone else for that matter, young Uzumaki Naruto was in constant pain. He didn't show it, nor could he feel it as the beast within him took the pain away. That was also the reason why he slept so much, because of his Bijū healing him constantly. The pain though was because of his chakra coils that were undeveloped, seeing as because he is still a newborn baby. No one knew of it, not even Naruto himself, but every time he went to sleep, his chakra coils were growing. Normally said growth was nothing special, especially for a baby that was born from shinobi parents. Yet for the young red-haired boy, his chakra coils were not only growing, but they were tearing themselves apart, only to heal and grow again. His chakra coils were constantly being destroyed while growing, and it was all happening unknown to anyone. All but one knew of this, the Bijū within Naruto, who was the cause behind everything. The Jubi wanted his host to be strong, so he constantly fed his own chakra to Naruto, which destroyed his chakra coils because of its growth, only to be healed by said Bijū each time. The entity fed Naruto's chakra coils its chakra, healed him and took away the pain that came with everything. All the while said Bijū only had half of his maximum chakra. When the Jubi got separated into the 9 Bijū, it knew that when it was time for its return, that it would not have all its chakra back, and it would have even less chakra the longer it took for the entity to be reformed. The Jubi did at least have a plan for that, and that was to absorb the chakra from around him while within his new host at the moment. The being only took the chakra from the nature that was around him, not wanting to draw any attention to his host, yet said being also knew that it couldn't take chakra from anyone by just resting inside its host, and the only way for it to regain its chakra was to just wait for it to return. The entity figured that it would have to wait only 1 year before it had all its chakra back, which was okay for the Jubi. It had nothing but time at the moment, seeing as it was within a host that he wanted to help grow, but also to test when the child came of age. Naruto, on the other hand, did not know any of this or anything for that matter. He got fed daily, though his caretakers only fed him the bare minimum to keep him alive. They also had to bathe him and do everything for him because of his young age. It irked them, though they didn't want to anger their Kage as they valued their own lives. While all that was going on, another problem arose, a problem yet to be known to the world. The aforementioned problem appeared within a cave, and inside the cave stood only a few individuals. Some were in holographic states, as they were not in the cave, only their holograms were. Only 2 of the individuals were solid beings, as they formed 2-man teams. Every individual had one thing in common which could be easily seen by anyone that they came across, and that was their clothing. They all had on a black cloak, with red clouds adjourned all around said cloak. They stood in a circle, and while holographic figures couldn't be identified because of the lack of any color to them, the 2 figures that were the only ones that appeared to be solid could be identified. One had blonde hair that was tied into a ponytail, the other seemed to be a hatchback figure. They also had on straw hats that covered their faces, making it look like they were hiding from the world. The only reason the blonde-haired man's hair could be identified was because of the current situation. Kakuzu, Deidara, be quiet, came a voice from among the holograms that spoke with authority in his voice. Both mentioned individuals obeyed, as they didn't want to anger the person that told them to keep their mouths shut. Said individual, while also wearing a cloak, was also wearing a mask with one hole in. An eye showed from behind the hole, yet it was not a normal eye. The eye that showed appeared to be red, with 3 tomo in each eye, which could be identified as the Dojutsu from the Uchiha clan, the Sharingan. Asshole, the blonde-haired man muttered quietly, which he directed toward the other person with whom he fought with just a few seconds ago. Said person didn't even acknowledge the blonde, not caring about the argument in the slightest. For he cared about money, and the blonde cared about his art, which was why they argued before they got silenced, saying which one was better and which one meant more. Now if you will, Zetsu, tell us what you have found out. Another man spoke. This one seemed to have short spiky hair and brown eyes. On his right stood someone that looked its head was between 2 plants that grew from his neck, which was also the person he was speaking with. Said individual, while having plants grow from its neck, also only had half a mouth. One half also seemed darker than the other, though both have seemed to look like they were in thought. It seems the plan didn't go like we wanted. Konoha is still standing, spoke the plant figure known as Zetsu, both of its sides taking a turn to talk. That is okay. They have been crippled and lost their yondaime. The fall of Konoha will come, just not today. We know of it. New Kyuubi Jinchuriki, the child of the yondaime, came the voice of the man with a mask on his face, only to continue speaking after a few seconds. Our plans will continue as planned, only with a delay of at least 3 years. We will monitor the Jinchuriki as much as we can without revealing ourselves to the world. We also need to gather more allies along the way. The most concerning matter at the moment is to find anything we can regarding that which we need to start our end plan. Zetsu and I will handle that thought, along with Nagato, the masked figure concluded, ending his speech afterward. The people he mentioned nodded before the holograms of almost everyone faded, leaving only the masked figure along with Zetsu 3 other people behind. Let us continue our search for our tool, came the dark voice of the black part of Zetsu before the plant figure seemingly disappeared into the ground. The remaining people followed soon after, all individuals leaving in groups of 2. Kumogakure no Sato, 2 years later. What? A very large man shouted. Located in the biggest tower from with Kumogakure no Sato. Said man was currently behind his desk, his chair laying on the side on the ground, indicating that he had suddenly jumped out of his seat. The table that he sat behind was also broken, another clear indication that the man was angry. Said man, while huge, was also dark-skinned with a huge muscular build. He also had blonde hair combed backward, along with a small mustache and goatee of the same blonde color. The blonde-haired man was currently wearing a white haori while shirtless with 2 golden vambraces on his wrists which could be seen clearly. This was the yondaime raikage of Kumogakure. What do you mean they're gone? How can that be possible? The raikage yelled again at the 2 people standing in front of him. One being another large man with the same skin color as the raikage while also having the same hair color as the man in front of him. The man also wore oval-shaped sunglasses with a white-colored Hitai-8 forehead protector. With that, he also wore a 1-strap over 1 shoulder flak jacket with a long red rope belt tied around his waist with hand and shin guards, which were common for Komo shinobi. To finish it off, he also had on shinobi sandals followed by a white scarf around his neck. On his back were 7 swords, indicating that the man was a kenjutsu user of a high degree. The second person was a woman with long, straight blonde hair bound with taut bandages. She also had dark eyes with dark lipstick. The woman wore a short-sleeved black and purple blouse with black pants, both having a similar design of clouds on them. She also had on purple fingerless gloves with white chain-like beads around her left hand. To complete her look, the woman also had on a standard Kumo Hitai-8 shinobi sandals and a kunai holster strapped to her right thigh. Bijū, tell me this instant what happened. How can both your Bijū just be gone? Their leader yelled out, angry at what the 2 had told them only minutes prior. The woman, Niyujito, bowed her head slightly to her leader before she spoke up. It's like we said, Raikage-sama, we don't know what happened. I woke up this morning to try and talk to the Nibi again, only this time she was gone along with my seal. I don't have any explanation of how that can be possible, Yujito said, while looking at the muscular Kage before she continued. I mean, if she was somehow extracted from me while asleep, then I wouldn't be here at the moment, as we all know that when that happens, the host dies. Yet, I'm still here just like Bisama. Though I can say that over the last few years, as we reported before, I have been unable to use the Nibi's chakra at all, just like Bisama reported being unable to draw power from the Hachibi. Both our chakra levels have also depleted a lot as well. The blonde-haired woman finished speaking while glancing at the man next to her whenever she mentioned his name. Killer B and Ni Yujito had been giving reports to their Kage for the last 2 years, the reports concerning their respective Bijū. Now they had reported that both of them were just gone with no trace left behind. Their seals had also vanished into seemingly thin air, something that was supposed to be impossible without their hosts knowing about it. The Reikage, rubbed his forehead before he spoke to them. This is a disaster. Losing both the Nibi and the Hachibi to seemingly who knows what. We need to get to the bottom of this while also keeping it under locks. Don't tell anyone else about this, am I understood? Their leader spoke to them in a commanding tone of voice, receiving nods from both Killer Bee and Niyujito, all the while not seeing let alone sensing the plant-like figure that was within the room as well. Zetsu was hiding in the shadows of the Kage Tower while listening on in the conversation, all the while hiding his presence from everyone before the plant-like figure dissolved back into the ground with only one thing going through his head. What? How can they just be gone? Zetsu thought as he also tried to sense for both the Nibi and Hachibi from within their hosts, only to find that they were telling the truth. The same incident was currently happening all around the elemental nations. Every village that had a Jinchuriki had been going through the same thing as Kumogakure. Their respective Bijū holders reported to them, after trying themselves yet again for the numerous times to get into contact with their Bijū, that they had suddenly disappeared. The young red-headed boy from Sunagakure that had been able to go to sleep for the past 2 years, had reported to the Kazekage that his mother, as he used to call her for a very short time, had been asleep after he was able to enter his mindscape. The Achibi had been unresponsive to the young red-headed boy no matter what he tried, or what his leader had told him to try. To find out that the Bijū was just gone, enraged the Kage from Suna as he then ordered the old woman who had checked up on his seal the previous time to make sure what he was saying was true. She had immediately told him that he was not lying, for the seal that was once visible on his forehead was gone, just like the Achibi. It happened in Iwagakure as well, where the Tsuchikage had nearly blown his 2 Jinchuriki away with his abilities once they informed him of the situation. The old Kage had ordered for them to be checked out as well to make sure they were truly gone, for he too didn't want to believe what he was told. In Takigakure no Sato the same happened, followed by Kirigakure as well. It all happened on the same day at the same time, while no one on the outside knew any wiser. Zetsu knew of Kumogakure because the plant being had to check up on the Hachibi's progress, for Killer Bee was known for being able to fully control his Bijū at will back before he fell into a coma like the other 7 Jinchuriki did. The only place that did not know of anything was Konoha. Their Jinchuriki, being the youngest one, didn't even know of his status, let alone anything else. The young 2-year-old boy, whose birthday was today as well, only knew of the people around him treating him differently as they rarely fed him, even when he cried for food or anything else. It was 2 months later that word got spread about the disappearance of the Bijū. That also only happened because of the respective Kages that had let their top shinobi know of the sudden loss in power to their villages. No Kage wanted to let the news get past their walls, in fear of having their enemies come to their doors because of their power loss. Each Kage then found out about it not being just their Jinchuriki that lost their power, all because of the spies they had in one another's village. When the word got to the leaders, they had immediately called for a council meeting to discuss the sudden news. It seems like it wasn't just our Jinchuriki that lost their Bijū. Taki, Suna, Kiri, and Iwa had lost their Bijū as well, came the booming voice of the Reikage as he was speaking to the people of his council. One of the elders of Kumogakure then asked the same question that was flying around not just in their meeting. What of Konoha? Who was their Jinchuriki and did he or she also lose the Kyubi? That is one thing we do not know of. We are just going to assume, for now, that they lost their power as well because of it happening not only here, but all around the elemental nations voiced his opinion, he not knowing who the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi was nor what had happened after the attack that they knew about. After that, and after each village concluded with their council meetings, it was decided to let their people know. All of them. The loss of power was massive, though if it happened all around the world, then they didn't see why they needed to keep it secret and have their now ex-Jinchuriki subjected to the pain they went through so much because of what they once held. They wanted to lessen the burden their shinobi had to carry and let their people know that they no longer had any monsters sealed within them. It resulted in what they hoped for, peace towards their shinobi that had sacrificed so much. The people all around the respective villages began to treat the now ex-Jinchuriki with kindness and respect. Though not all the villagers at once accepted it, they were starting to warm up to it, and the Kages knew that it would only be a matter of time before the world-changing event settled and their villagers accepted it all. There was only one problem. While the villagers of every other village had begun to accept what they were told, Konoha was an entirely different story. Kanahagakure no Sato, council meeting. What do you mean that all the Bijū are gone, Hokage-sama? Came the voice of one of the elders from Konoha, an old woman with the name of Koharu. She, along with everyone else present at the moment within the council meeting, just heard from their leader that all the Bijū had disappeared. He had only heard it minutes prior, when one of his old students and current spymaster of Konoha told him what he had found out not that long ago. The white-haired man called Jiraiya, one of the legendary three Sannin, had been informed of the events happening all around the elemental nations not too long ago. When he heard the news, he immediately set out to go home to inform his Kage. That had led to the current meeting taking place, as Konoha was uninformed of what was happening in the other villages until now. The reason for that being because of Naruto's age. The 2-year-old boy couldn't even form a full sentence, let alone tell them of something he was unaware of. Just like I said, Koharu, Kumogakure along with Iwagakure and every other village that had a Jinchuriki had reported that their Bijū had just disappeared. From what Jiraiya had told me, it had happened months ago and word got out to their top shinobi only recently, came the old yet stern voice of the Sandaime Hokage. Then what about our Jinchuriki? Had we lost our weapon as well? This question came from another old shinobi, one that seemed to be draped in bandages that covered the right side of his face as well as his entire right arm. Hiruzen became angry at the man when he mentioned Naruto being a weapon, only he did not voice it nor did he show it. We will find out soon, Danzo. I have sent Jiraiya to look at young Naruto before the meeting started, the aged Kage told the bandaged man, who in return gave a slight nod, only for the doors to the meeting room to open. They all looked towards the entrance, finding the man that was just mentioned at the entrance. Jiraiya walked towards his old sensei as he then whispered something to the old man, who in return grew slightly wide-eyed, not enough for anyone to see through. Giving a slight nod afterward, Jiraiya stood back and went to stand behind the Hokage. Signing, Hiruzen spoke up. It seems that we are also now short of a Jinchuriki. The Kyuubi had disappeared just like all the other Bijū. The seal on Naruto is also gone, and there isn't even a trace of anything left behind, he informed them. Only for a man from the civilian side of the council to speak up. Does that mean the demon is gone? He did not receive his answer as the man who questioned the Hokage fell to the ground, his head rolling to one side while his body fell to the other side. The rest of the civilian council grew shocked at this, while most of the shinobi side of the council had smirks on their faces. My law still stands. Do not forget your place in this village and who you answer to. This time Hiruzen had anger behind his voice, controlled anger that was backed by not only his killer intent but also by the white-haired man standing behind him, as he too got angry at the way the man addressed Naruto. Tell the villagers of this, as I'm sure all the other villages have done the same by now. Make sure you tell them the truth, or else you will be held responsible and will find yourself without a head if the message is spread wrongly. Hiruzen ordered his people before he called the meeting adjourned. As they left, Danzo had only one thought before he disappeared himself. How could this have happened? Our weapon is gone. I could have molded him into a fine shinobi. Afterward he left, not knowing the same thought ran through many others' heads, just without them thinking of Naruto as a weapon or molding him into a fine shinobi. Soon after the word got spread, with every village having their villagers accepting what they had been told little by little. The only difference was Konoha, again. While the other ex-Jinchuriki's lives became happier, Naruto's life becomes more difficult. The reason for that being the people taking the message they received wrongly. When they got the word exactly as Hiruzen wanted, the unthinkable happened. The people of Konoha had begun asking, why isn't the demon gone? I saw it just yesterday. They told us that the demons from every village that had one disappeared. So then why is it that we are cursed? We still have our demon among us, they said, believing Naruto to be the reincarnation of the Kyuubi, and that it would also mean for him to be gone as well, seeing as that every other village was free from their demons. That was also the start of something horrible, something that Hiruzen didn't see coming, as the people of Konoha had started to believe they were cursed, calling Naruto just that. The curse of Konoha. Hiruzen believed that through time, the people's wounds would heal, as he had seen that at least some of his people started to warm up to the idea of the Kyuubi being gone. They could also tell the difference between a container and the contained, though not everyone could. It was because of that which caused the Sandaime Hokage to keep his law up to try and protect Naruto, hoping that with time, everything would be alright. He just knew that if something were to happen to the young red-headed boy, that he would deal with the people accordingly. Unknown location. In a dark cave stood numerous holographic figures, all of which were see-through this time. They all stood in a circle again, as an emergency meeting had been called by a plant-like being. Zetsu, Why is it that you have called us so urgently? Came the voice of a man that had long hair, though the color was unknown because of hologram causing it to show a shade of blue instead of its original color. We have some urgent news to share that I have discovered as of recently. The Bijū, all of them, seem to have disappeared without a trace. I checked everything myself and found it to be true. There aren't any traces of them left from their now previous hosts. I will continue to search for them, though we don't know where to start because of the hosts still being alive. The plant-like entity spoke out as the black half and the white half took turns to speak, finishing each other's sentences. That caused everyone to grow wide-eyed, not wanting to believe what they had just been told. What? How can that be possible? The masked man with the Sharingan yelled out in anger, not wanting to believe the news. Zetsu said nothing and waited for the man to calm down, which wasn't long as the masked man spoke once more. This changes a lot of things. Now we have to find them before we can do anything else, no matter what it takes. Search this entire planet if you have time. Find the Bijū. They can't be just gone, he spoke out, still showing a little bit of anger as he wanted to find them as soon as possible. With that said, all the holograms dissipated to do what they were told, leaving a dark cave behind yet again. Today marked a great day for Konohagakure no Sato. It marked the day when their Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi. Though the beast may have been gone entirely, not everyone accepted that. When Hiruzen had his shinobi spread the news of the disappearance of the mighty fox, some accepted it as they were able to see the difference between the jailer and the prisoner. The rest, however, which were the majority of the civilians and some chunin and a few jonin, did not accept it at all. It was them that began to spread the word about Konoha that was cursed as their demon didn't seem to want to leave no matter what they did. While the defeat of the Kyuubi was still celebrated, many chose the day to exact revenge on the curse of Konoha, the demon boy. At first, they did nothing too revealing to the young boy, only being able to get away with a few things such as glaring at him, refusing to give him anything or to even look at him. When he turned 3, however, he got thrown out of the orphanage. Now you're old enough to defend yourself, you monster. You also better not tell Hokage-sama about this, or else you would cause him a lot of trouble. He already has so much to do for us, he can't help you as well, filth, was what the lady told him that had to take care of him for 3 years. Naruto, being only a 3-year-old boy at the time, accepted what he was told and he decided not to give his Gigi any more trouble than he already had. The old man visited him from time to time, though those visits became less and less as he grew older, all because of him being the Hokage and because of the damage Konoha still had to fix because of the attack 3 years prior. It caused him great sadness not to be able to see the red-headed boy more, yet he didn't have much of a choice. The village came first and no personal feelings were above that. No one ever reported anything to him about Naruto being abused in any way, and when he visited the child when he did, Naruto would tell him that everything was okay. Hiruzen knew the young boy was only saying it to help each the mind of the old Kage, only he didn't know that it made him worry more about the young boy. He had put 2 chunin on guard to watch him at all times, not knowing that those 2 chunin hated the boy. When he ordered Danzo to choose the men to watch over Naruto, he did not know about them hating the boy and seeing him as the curse of Konoha. Danzo, on the other hand, because of him now also disliking the boy because of the loss of the Kyuubi, did not care what happened to him. He had also told his leader to not put Jonin to watch him because he isn't a Jinchuriki anymore, and that they needed manpower to do more missions to help rebuild Konoha to what it once was. Reluctantly, Hiruzen agreed and did what Danzo advised. He was just hoping that no one was hurting the young red-headed boy, seeing as that no one could or wanted to adopt him after the world-changing news spread. The ones who were close to his parents couldn't take him in because they had children of their own, although the ones who could, did not want to take him in. Hiruzen himself wanted to adopt the boy, only he knew that he would not be able to take care of the boy because of his status as Hokage and because most of his clan had been killed during the Kyuubi attack. Time passed and eventually, on Naruto's 3rd birthday when he got thrown out of the orphanage, the people who hated the boy began to take more action towards the young boy who began living on the streets. They would refuse to give him anything to eat while throwing him with stones as often as they could. It came to the point where the young boy never went to sleep without crying himself to sleep. He hated what they were doing to him and never understood why they did what they did. I've never hurt anyone. Why do they hurt me then and call me those mean things? Was what he asked himself for over a year every night before he fell asleep in a small box that was located in an alleyway behind a dumpster. He chose to reside there because of the people throwing their old food in that dumpster, food that he then took to eat. Naruto wore rugged clothes that were brown, using a small rope to tie his pants around his malnourished stomach. He had to eat, even if those foods were rotten and made him throw up a lot. The young boy was just glad that he never seemed to be able to get sick, no matter what. The water he drank was also never clean water, and the only times that he got some okay water was when it rained. It was also only then that he was able to clean himself, because every other time he tried to go clean himself in a river close to where he slept, people would throw him with rocks or whatever they had close by of unimportance. Today, however, things took a turn for the worst as Naruto was currently being chased by a mob of angry people who had weapons in their hands. "Get the demon! Get the curse of Konoha!" were some of the things they yelled while chasing him. Naruto, for his part, just ran while tears ran down his cheeks, hoping that someone would help him. He hadn't seen his Gigi in over a year, so he didn't bet on him helping him ever again. Taking a turn into an alleyway, Naruto's eyes grew wide when he saw that the alleyway he chose to take had a huge wall at the end, cutting him off completely. He quickly turned around and hoped that he could run back to find someplace to hide, only to be stopped dead in his tracks when saw the mob behind him. They seemed to be playing with him as well as they didn't run full speed after the 4-year-old boy. He was not like a rabbit trapped in a cage, which was what the mob of people wanted. "Finally! Right where we want you, you piece of trash!" one man yelled out while they all stepped closer to the red-headed boy, who in return took a step backward because he was very scared. Please, don't hurt me. I didn't do anything to anyone," Naruto pleaded while tears ran down his cheeks as he cried. This, however, only seemed to make the crowd of people even angrier. "You dare say that, you monster? You're still here, while every other village had their demons disappear on them. They had the luck, where we had to be cursed with you. Why couldn't you just disappear like the rest of your kind?" Another man, this one wearing a standard Konoha Chunin flak jacket, yelled at Naruto with such distaste in his mouth that the young red-headed boy could almost taste it. What he said caused him to look at the man with wide eyes, resulting in even more tears to run down his cheeks. He was about to respond, only for it to be cut short when the same man threw a kunai at him which embedded into his stomach, causing Naruto to yell out in pain. After that, everyone joined in where they beat Naruto. They cut him and stabbed him, not caring that he was crying and begging them to stop. The beating lasted till the Chunin got tired, which was well after an hour. Afterward, they left, believing that they had killed the red-headed boy as he was not moving at all. Naruto, on his part, just kept asking for help before his eyes closed, not knowing or seeing that after the mob left of what was happening to his skin where his wounds were. It was generating at an inhuman pace, and it only took a few seconds for all the wounds that Naruto sustained to be gone, like they were never there. "Don't worry, young one. I will help you," the Jubi said from within Naruto, who had seen everything the young boy had been through. To say that the humongous entity was disgusted with what it saw was an understatement. It, however, chose to do nothing, knowing that the chakra it had given the red-headed boy would heal him in mere seconds, which it did. Naruto still felt the pain, only the wounds were gone. Blood still laid all around him, the blood that he had lost. Only, within his body, the blood was quickly reforming as new blood cells were made within him. All the while he knew nothing because of the state of unconsciousness he was in at the moment. An hour later, Naruto began to stir while still laying in the alleyway. It was nighttime now though, so Naruto couldn't see the blood that he laid in that used to be his. Rubbing his head, Naruto sat up while trying to wipe the tears that were on his face. He looked down at his hands and then at his body, looking for the wounds that the mob inflicted on him, only to find nothing. "That's weird," the 4-year-old boy spoke to himself, only to remember everything that happened to him, or more specifically, what the Chunin had told him. It caused him to start sobbing again as he hugged his knees to his chest. "Why do they hate me so much? What did I ever do to anyone? I don't even know anyone," the red-headed boy spoke to himself as the tears kept rolling down his cheeks. Would it be better if I was never born? I mean, no one likes me or cares for me." Now the tears streamed down his face yet again as he kept speaking to himself, believing he was all alone. If it made them happy for me to to be gone," Naruto said, unable to say the word that he was told as he was too young and uneducated to remember it fully before he continued. "Then maybe that is what I should do." He couldn't speak anymore as he just kept crying, not knowing what he did wrong to have people hurt him so much that they would stab him with weapons and try to kill him. "I'm only 4. They are big people. What can I do against them?" he thought to himself, not knowing that someone was listening to him. "Would you forgive them, young one?" a voice suddenly asked the young red-headed boy. That caused Naruto to look up from where he sat with sudden haste, wanting to know where the voice came from. Seeing no one close to him, Naruto figured it was just all in his head. It did cause him to think a little, as he at least knew what the word forgive mean. That was one thing his Jiji had taught him before he was thrown out of the orphanage. He was taught a few basic words from the orphanage as the Hokage had ordered them to do so that he could at least talk. That and all the while he was on the streets, Naruto picked up a few words when he heard people talking or other parents trying to teach their children while he hid close by to try and learn a little bit himself as well. I would, he answered. For that was one thing he didn't like even at his young age. To hold something against someone like they seemed to hold against him. He didn't want to be like the people around him. He wanted to be like himself and no one else. Do you hate them? The same voice asked, this time causing Naruto to look around him frantically as he wanted to know who was speaking to him. Who's there? He asked and waited a few minutes for the same voice to answer, only for it to be dead quiet yet again. Moving a little bit to sit against the wall, Naruto thought about what the mysterious voice asked him for a second time. Luckily for the Jubi, Naruto knew what hatred was quite well, even at his young age. To be asked if he hated them was something that made him think. I don't think I do, he answered truthfully without voicing it, as the voice seems to be able to read his mind, which is something he found very weird. He is very naive, although that is understandable. No one has taken the time to teach him anything and he is only 4 years old. In time, I believe he will come to hate and unforgiveness. I will keep watching you, young one. You intrigue me a lot and I for one do not like the way those ants treat. The Jubi thought before it went back to sleep within Naruto's mindscape. All the while the young red-headed boy knew nothing about it at all. The following months passed by rather quickly for Naruto. It was yet another horrible year for him though, for when he came out of that alleyway the day after his 4th birthday, without a scratch as well, caused the people to hate him even more. Many knew of the beating that was given to him, although not everyone participated and they also didn't say anything to anyone at all. They feared that word would get to their Hokage and that would result in them dying. So as the months rolled on and another year passed by, Naruto got treated even worse than before. It got to the point that he had to find a new place to hide and sleep as they had found his old place, throwing him with stones and old knives when they found him sleeping in that alleyway. Naruto never smiled, he never looked at anyone and he never spoke to anyone. He had learned to stay quiet and avoid everyone, for no one came to see him or find him. The Hokage had all but forgotten about him is what he believed, as he never sent anyone to look for him to visit him. He doubted that the old man knew that he had been thrown out of the orphanage 2 years ago. Today was his 5th birthday and nighttime was drawing closer. He avoided people most of the time, only running into someone now and then when he went to look for something to eat. His clothes were even more rugged than before, almost looking like he only wore a few pieces of cloth rather than pants and a shirt. Now that it was almost nighttime, caused Naruto to try and find a new hiding spot. He didn't want to get beaten and tortured again like the last time it was his birthday, so he ran as far as his small legs could carry him, all the while making sure no one saw him. He came to a huge field, and at the end of the field were huge trees. Those trees were split from the open field to the other side by a massive fence, and it almost looked creepy to the young boy when he came across the place that looked like an entrance to a forest. Seeing a few bushes on his side of the fence, Naruto quickly ran towards them, wanting to hide in them for as long as he could. What he did not know was that he was being followed. The people following him being the same Chunin that the Hokage had put on his guard patrol to keep him safe, the same Chunin that had hurt him a year ago today. Before he could get behind the bushes, the 2 shinobi spoke out, causing the young red-headed boy to stop dead in his tracks, just like the last time they caught him. Well, I didn't think you would make it this easy for us this year, you damn demon. An older man spoke to him who had dark hair and wore a standard Chunin flak jacket, while also having a cigarette in his mouth. Naruto didn't even have time to say anything before the other man, the same man as before that he could remember, jumped him and pinned him to the ground. Not so fast, demon. The last time you got away, fully healed somehow. This time, however, we brought backup, he told the fearful boy who now had tears in his eyes yet again. It was then that a large mob of people, this time even bigger than the one before, joined the duo of Chunin while they carried various types of weapons. Among them, however, was an older-looking man who had blonde hair and also wore a standard Jonin flak jacket. Naruto knew the difference between a Chunin and Jonin as he had also seen them from time to time. They never really gave him the time of day to even look at him, so he never really worried about them much. Now seeing one in front of him among the people who were looking to hurt him, however, caused him to start squirming as he wanted to get away. Please let me go. I didn't do anything, he pleaded. hoping against hope that the man would help him. No, 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 little demon. That is not what I want to hear. I want to hear you scream, just like how my mother screamed before she died when you attacked us 5 years ago. The blonde-haired man screamed that the boy, followed by the people around him yelling in cheer towards the strongest one amongst them. Naruto, however, was confused. But I am only 5 years old. How could I hurt anyone when I was born? He asked, hoping to get the man to see some reason in the little bit of logic he knew he had, only for the man to laugh at him before he spoke to the boy once more. It seems you don't know, you demon, he began, only to laugh loudly yet again as the others joined him in laughing. Well, too bad. It's too much to explain, especially to something that is about to die. Let's just say you're the reincarnation of the Kyuubi and you're also the curse of Konoha, he yelled, followed by him jumping onto the pinned-down boy as the then began to beat him with his fists. That was when the beating started and Naruto yelled out again while being beaten by the mob of people and while crying. Please, someone, anyone, help me, he said in between getting beaten, only to hear the people laughing at him once more. It was then that they seemed to get serious as they began to use their weapons. First, they stabbed him on his right side with a kunai, followed by his right side getting pierced. Then they kicked him again, followed by someone else this time stabbing him. He screamed in pain when they stabbed him, which caused the dark-haired Chunin to get angry even more than he already was. Quickly grabbing onto his head, he took his kunai and sliced him where his vocal cords were, causing Naruto to almost pass out in pain. The Jonin then stabbed him in the chest with a needle. Said needle had in chemicals that would cause someone to stay awake no matter what. Afterward, the beating just continued before the Jonin taking his kunai into his right hand. Goodbye, demon, the man said before he sliced the red-headed boy's throat, deep enough to make sure it couldn't be healed. That caused Naruto to reach out to his throat, wanting the bleeding and pain to stop. All the while he tried to scream but was unable to because of them destroying his vocal cords. The people then smiled at the scene before them, wanting to see this time how they got rid of their curse and to make sure he didn't heal up again. Naruto, for his part, couldn't think or do anything else, other than trying to stop the bleeding from his throat. He knew he was about to die, yet he still called out for help, although no one ever helped him nor cared for him, which was also the thought that caused the young boy to stop trying to call for help as he knew no one would help him. The red-headed boy opened his eyes, finding only darkness around him. Tears ran down his face still, which he found weird. I'm dead, I'm going to guess, he spoke to himself while sobbing softly. No one cared about me. He tried to wipe the tears from his face, only for them to keep coming. That was when a small light appeared in front of him, which he saw. He stood up, seeing that there was a platform under him that allowed him to stand. When he stood up to his full height, which wasn't much at all, Naruto began to move towards the light. Reaching it fairly fast, he quickly moved through it, finding massive jail-like bars on the other side. Not knowing what to do or where he was, he simply moved towards the bars to get to the other side. Reaching it, he saw only darkness yet again. Where am I? He asked himself, not expecting anyone to answer him. You are not dead, young one, came the same voice that he recognized as the one that spoke to him a year ago after the people tortured him. Who's there? The young red-headed boy asked, hoping that this time the voice would show itself. When it did, however, Naruto fell on his behind. A massive red eye opened up in front of him. Then, for reasons Naruto didn't know, the light came into where he was that showed the entire Jubi to its full extent. To say that the entity in front of him was massive would be an understatement. He was also quite scary looking to Naruto, though he found that he didn't care one bit. The entity in front of him, which was most likely almost twice the size of Konoha, spoke to Naruto once more. Like I said, young one, you are not dead. So do not worry, the entity stated again to reassure the young boy before it continued. I am not going to say much now. Just know this is inside you. Inside your mind, so to speak. I am real, as much as you are real, it spoke while looking at the very small human in front of him. At a later time, I will answer all the questions you have. For now, just know that you can trust me. You have called for help so many times, yet no one came. I am here to tell you, young one, that I will help you. We cannot speak much now, but when we speak again, which will be soon, just know that you are not alone, the massive entity told the boy, who could just nod in to show that he understood, too shocked to even speak because of how big the being was that was in front of him. Also, you can all be Jubi. I do not have a name, so that will have to do for now, the Jubi concluded before Naruto felt a pull on his being, only to then find himself looking at his attackers once more. What he didn't see, although his attackers could, were his wounds, all of them being healed yet again at an inhumane rate that was even visible to the human eye. The wound on his neck was the most visible, while his vocal cords healed as well. Demon. See, what did I tell you? No human can heal that fast. Not even Tsunade-sama can heal that fast, and she is the best medic in the world. The Jonin yelled out, getting ready to attack the boy yet again. That was until they saw the red-headed boy's eyes. What? How does he have the Sharingan? The Jonin yelled again, causing the other people to start panicking. They too saw his eyes and also knew a little bit about the legendary dojutsu. It was just that they had never seen a Sharingan cover the entirety of one's eyes, nor could they remember the Sharingan glowing. The Jonin was within attacking range when the Jubi spoke to Naruto once more from within his mind. Young one, I quickly opened your chakra paths for you for the moment only. I want you to hold your right hand out in front of you and repeat after me. The Jubi told him and Naruto complied. When the Jonin was about to stab him and Naruto's hand was almost touching him, he did what the Jubi told him to, as he also felt very weird all of a sudden. Shinra Tensei, almighty push, Naruto repeated after the Jubi, which caused an invisible force to originate from the young red-headed boy and pushed outwards and into the direction his hand was in. The force of the attack, however, was something that completely took Naruto off guard, as it not only pushed the Jonin backward, it destroyed the man's entire body along with everyone else that was close to him. The attack was so strong that it not only caused Naruto to kill everyone around him, it also caused him to blow everything away, even the ground and trees that once resided within the open field that he had entered not too long ago. Where there was once an open field for shinobi to train in, now only a massive crater was in its place. Guess that was a bit much, the Jubi said, almost sounding like it was joking. Naruto, however, couldn't believe his eyes. I did that? That you did, young one. Though don't think too much about it at the moment, as I'm sensing people coming this way. Quickly run into the forest behind you and hide. I will help you, the Jubi told Naruto, who in return did as he was told and quickly ran into the scary-looking forest as fast as he could, while the Jubi kept sensing the people that reacted to the jutsu Naruto had used only moments ago. It wasn't long before the Hokage and several of his Bijū appeared in the crater, all of them shocked at what they saw. What on earth caused this? The Sandaime Hokage asked, looking around to see if he could find an answer. He saw blood and a lot of it. Find out who did this. Search the entire forest of death if you have to, as that might be the only place whoever did this ran towards. The aged Kage commanded, followed by his people doing what they were told as they jumped into the forest, not knowing what or who they were looking for in the first place. The people that were killed could not be made out, no matter how hard the Sandaime tried. Signing, he looked towards the forest. Who or what could have caused this, and why? No one is supposed to train here, and Anko is on a mission. Though not even she could cause damage of this caliber, the old man thought to himself, hoping that his Bijū could find the cause of this. Naruto was currently hiding in an old tree bark that had seemed to have fallen long ago, if the bugs inside it were of any indication. While he hid from the people who were looking for him, the Jubi hid his chakra and sent from the Bijū, so that they couldn't find him even if they had brought animals with them to try and find the red-headed boy. He stayed within the tree bark for so long that he had eventually fallen asleep, only to wake up when the Jubi had spoken to him once more. They are gone, young one, the massive entity told the young boy, who in return trusted the huge being as he then got out from the tree bark, ready to head back into Konoha streets to try and survive as he did before. Stop, young one. Do not go back to that wretched place. At least, not yet, the Jubi told Naruto, causing the red-headed boy to stop in his tracks before he spoke to the massive entity for the first time. But why? I know they treat me badly and almost killed me, but how am I going to survive here? He asked the being that had told him that he resided within him. I will teach you how to survive here, as well as many other things. Those ants will never do anything to help you, so you must learn without their help. I will guide you and teach you, you must only do as I say, for what I teach you will be hard and it will be a lot, the Jubi said, referring to the people within Konoha as ants because of them being so small and because the massive entity didn't like them at all. Said being had never come to like anyone, until meeting its current host where the Jubi had decided to stay on its own accord. You will help me? But why? Why are you so nice to me, Jubi-san? The 5-year-old boy asked while standing in the middle of the forest, only trees surrounding him as far as he could see in every direction. Sit, young one. Then do as I say, the Jubi instructed once more, which Naruto did without question. He didn't want to lose the only one that seemed to care for him, so if he had to do what the massive entity said, then that was okay to him. He went to sit against a tree, only for the Jubi to tell him to sit in a meditating pose. Not knowing what that was, the Jubi began to explain to him step by step of what to do, which Naruto did without question. Then he got instructed to continue, and the Jubi told him how to meditate and also how to reach his mindscape, the place where he first saw the Jubi. Doing everything that he was told, Naruto soon found himself facing the massive entity yet. Again and again, he was shocked by the mere size of the Jubi. Do not be afraid, young one. I do not mean you any harm. Calm yourself and try to relax. We are going to be here for quite some time as we need to talk about a few things, the Jubi said before it went lay down in front of Naruto. Even while laying down on its arms, the Jubi was still taller than anything Naruto has ever seen. Following his words, Naruto sat down on the ground, only to find it a little bit difficult to keep looking at the massive entity because of its side, as he had to keep looking up to even look into its massive one eye. Seeing the caused the Jubi to slowly bring one of its tails towards Naruto and lifted him with ease. The notion did, however, cause Naruto to gasp slightly, although his shock was quickly replaced by comfort as the tail of the Jubi was quite comfortable, something that didn't make sense to the young boy. Good. Now that you are relaxed, let's begin. The Jubi started with Naruto focusing all his attention towards the massive entity. To answer your first question, of why I am nice to you, is because I saw how they treated you throughout your life so far. You did nothing to them, yet they attacked you out of hate and fear. Being the stupid, mindless ants they are, they could not see you for who you truly are. But before we continue, I need to ask you something that you need to answer me with all your honesty. Do you think you can do that, young one? The Jubi asked the red-headed boy, who in return nodded while also replying, yes, Jubi-san. Young one, if you had all the power in the world, if somehow you got the power that was far greater than anything anyone has ever seen, and with that power you could even destroy this world, what would you do? Would you destroy the world and everyone in it, or what? The Jubi asked in the best way it could while talking to a 5-year-old, wanting to make sure that the young boy could understand what he was being asked of. Being caught off guard, Naruto did not know what to do or say. He did understand the question, so he went to think about that for as long as the Jubi gave him time. Surprisingly, the massive being was quite calm and patient with the young red-headed boy. It seemed to be quite a long time for Naruto to think of the answer, which somehow the Jubi did not mind one bit. To be honest, I don't know what I'd do with such power. I wouldn't destroy the world, never. Sure, I have no one that likes me, but that doesn't mean I would destroy anything or anyone just because people hurt me, the young boy began, and the Jubi gave him time to continue talking. If I have to do something with that much power that it could destroy the world, then I would say I would use it to protect who I want to because it would be my power, right? I might not know a lot, but I know many people don't deserve to be protected because of the things they chose to do, Naruto said, finding it a little hard to continue because of him not knowing that much. He, however, wanted to answer the Jubi's question as truthfully as he could. So I'd protect who I can. I don't believe there is someone who could protect everyone, because no one ever came to protect me, except you, Jubi-san. With that power, I'd probably do everything I could to protect who was precious to me. I try to create peace, but I'm not stupid. If true peace was real, then I would not have been hurt the way I have, he answered the Jubi as truthfully as he could with the wording he knew. The Jubi was shocked, to say the least. A young boy of a mere 5 years old gave him an honest answer. He could sense what the boy felt and knew if he lied or not. Yet the massive one-eyed being was happy with the answer he got. It was different than what he expected because of how the young boy was treated. The Jubi felt the slight resentment that came from within Naruto that was directed towards the people who hurt him, although that was expected. The red-headed boy is a 5-year-old child, a somewhat mature 5-year-old. Liking the answer he received from Naruto and knowing that it will also change as time passed because of him growing older and more mature, the massive entity spoke up. Good. That was an honest answer, and I am glad that you didn't try to hide anything from me. Although you don't know this, I can sense what you feel and know when you lie, or anyone else for that matter. The Jubi began speaking while looking at the slightly shocked boy. The reason why I asked that is because of 2 reasons. 1, if you gave the wrong answer and said that you would destroy the world, I would have killed you right now, the one eyes being said, causing Naruto to gulp at what he was told. Don't worry, young one. From everything I saw and felt from you throughout your life so far, you are unique and I have come to like you. Secondly, the Jubi began once more, seemingly getting more serious than it already was before. I am going to give you the power that I have mentioned. It won't be as a gift, however, as you will have to train for it. For where would the fun be if I just gave you it all without you having to achieve it yourself? That caused Naruto to look at the entity in front of him in shock. Why you want to give me such power? Why? He asked, very shocked to hear what he just heard. Tears formed in his eyes also, as he had never gotten anything from anyone. Now to hear that someone was willing to give him sure power seemed very strange to him, as he was never one to want power. The Jubi knew that, which is why the huge entity liked the boy even more. Naruto was not power hungry, although if he got the power to protect someone he loved, then he would do so with his own 2 hands and because he worked for it. I want to give it to you for another 2 more reasons. Firstly, as I said before, I know your heart, young one. I can feel it. You would not just take the power that is given to you. You would want to have your own power and train yourself to where you want to be. Second, I want to see what you can achieve. I'll only act as a teacher, so to speak. Yet, if you want to, as a partner as well. Now that shocked the young redhead to no end. Someone already wants to be not only his teacher but also his partner. It made him sob in happiness for a little while, not knowing how to respond to that. It is okay to cry, young one. Know that I will never judge you. I am here to help you. It will be the most difficult path anyone has ever taken, but it will be your path. So I'll ask you this. Are you willing to walk this path, Uzumaki Naruto? That was the first time the Jubi used Naruto's name, causing the boy to look up from where he sat while sobbing in happiness, as he then answered as best he could in his current state. Hi, Jubi-sensei. If the huge one-eyed being could smile, then Naruto would have seen it. Good, young one. For now, rest. We will continue talking tomorrow, as I know you have many questions. Your mind, however, needs rest. So for now, sleep, the Jubi told Naruto, who in return felt how tired he was all of a sudden, most likely from the few things he had learned today and from everything that he went through as well. It didn't even take a minute for Naruto to fall asleep, which the Jubi also used to lay down completely, as the monstrosity of a being also went to sleep while still being able to sense everything around Naruto up to a very far point. We are sorry, Hokage-sama. We found no trace of what could have caused that crater nor what killed those people. We also could not find out who the victims were or how many people were killed because of all the blood that got mixed during what we assume was an attack. An Bijū wearing a bear mask stood in front of his leader, giving him the report after they had finished searching for over 5 hours, to which he had then called off the hunt. Thank you, Boar. You are all dismissed for now, Hiruzen told them, getting a high, and them bowing to their leader in return before all of the Bijū that went looking for whoever it was that destroyed almost an entire training ground earlier, to head back home to rest. Knowing he will have a lot to explain the following day, Hiruzen too went home to rest. He didn't want to think of all the paperwork and questions he would receive, as that would give him a headache, so he went to bed rather early for him that night, not knowing of what his village had caused and his actions to a point. The following day Naruto woke up with a bit of a startle, something he was used to because of how he had to survive while living on the streets of Konoha. Looking around him, the red-headed boy quickly remembered everything that happened the previous day. Remembering how his throat was slit, he hastily reached for his throat to feel if he had any scars or if what he remembered truly happened. Feeling nothing, he quickly spoke to the entity he hoped would respond to him. Jubi-sensei, why do I not have any scars, and how did I get healed so fast last night? He didn't have to wait long as the monstrous entity spoke up from within his mindscape. That would be because of the chakra you have. To make it short and simple, when you were born I fed you my chakra because of how potent and strong it is. So basically, you have my chakra running through you, though it is your own now because I chose to give it to you, the Jubi replied to the red-headed boy, only to continue speaking before the young boy could bombard him with questions. Before I answer any questions you have, start your day, young one. Search for any source of water within this forest and use it to clean yourself and your clothes. Then I'll start teaching you how to hunt for food, the one-eyed entity told Naruto, who did as he was told once more. He stood up from where he had slept, which was against a tree in the middle of the forest of death. Doing what the Jubi said, Naruto began to look for any form of water that he could find. Luckily for him, that search was not long, as he found a small river that seemed to run through the massive forest he was in. Taking off the rags he had on, Naruto got into the small river and started cleaning himself from all the dried-up blood that he then remembered was not all only his. That caused him to run towards the ground as fast as he possibly could while running in water, only to throw up what little he had in his stomach when he remembered that he killed people yesterday. Let us out, young one, came the voice of the Jubi as Naruto began to cry, believing himself to be a monster for what he did, and even more so for how little he saw was left of the people he had killed with that unknown attack. I am a monster, he said while crying softly, only for the Jubi to speak to him once more. No, young one, you are not. Those ants that you killed were the monsters, he told the young boy, finding it ironic to call humans that he saw as ants monsters when the Jubi himself knew that he most likely looks like a monster rather. They wanted to kill you when you did nothing to them. They attacked you when you don't even talk to anyone, let alone hurt anyone. You also did so in self-defense. Remember, young one, it was kill or be killed in a situation where those ants chose to attack a 5-year-old boy. Do not think of yourself as a monster. You're human and you have emotions just like the rest of your kind, the Jubi concluded, glad to see that Naruto started to sob a little less as he tried to progress what the One-Eyes entity just told him. Taking a few minutes to be in silence and Naruto taking it to calm down, the red-headed boy thanked the entity that resided within him as he then went to finish what he started, feeling a little better about what he did. After he was done, Naruto washed what he called his clothes in the water as well, putting it back on afterward. Good. Now comes the fun part, the Jubi said, causing Naruto to smile a little when he heard the tone of voice the Jubi said that in, almost sounding a little happy and excited. This forest has a lot of creatures that could hurt you, so for one, be careful of them for now. I can sense them, so worry not as they are not close by. There is, however, a small animal behind the bush in front of you. This is what you'll have to do. With that, the Jubi began to instruct Naruto on how to start hunting for food. That was the start of something Naruto found not only very hard, but also fun. He had to get a sharp object, then he had to be very sneaky to try and surprise the rabbit that hid behind the bush to try and kill it. Unfortunately for Naruto, the rabbit jumped away from him the second he got too close for the rabbit's comfort and it ran away. Naruto gave chase, wanting to kill the rabbit to eat it. He chased the rabbit for almost 30 minutes before the small creature got attacked by a huge snake, who then devoured the fluffy animal before setting its eyes on Naruto. That, however, did not last even a second as the snake slithered away as fast as it could, seemingly in fear. Confused, Naruto spoke to the Jubi. What just happened? Why did that thing run away when it was so big? He asked, not knowing what a snake was nor why it ran away like that. It was then that the Jubi began to explain to him what a snake was, for starters. Then the entity explained that it slithered away in fear because the Jubi had made itself known to the snake, only a little though. The one-eyed being did not want Naruto to have to fight a snake now as well, for the boy was over-malnourished and he needed food as he was still human. The Jubi then directed Naruto back towards the lake, telling him that he will have to fish now. The one-eyed being instructed Naruto to get a strong enough stick, a big one as well, so that he could then start using a rock to sharpen it to make a sort of spear. Doing what he was told, Naruto set out to find everything he needed. When he got what he needed, Naruto then proceeded to make a spear using a thick stick and a stone by cutting the end of the stick in a way that would sharpen it. He had trouble at first, although the Jubi instructed him on how to do it properly. When he got the result that he needed, Naruto went back to the lake he had been in before. Only this time he went in deeper in and also went upstream as the lake seemed to be originating from most likely a small waterfall. Eventually he spotted what he needed, fish and a lot of them. That was then he began trying to stab them using the spear-like stick he had made. It took him nearly half of the day to finally be able to catch what he needed. It became a little easier after that as he was able to catch 3 big fish after 6 hours. By then the red-headed boy was feeling tired, only for the Jubi to then tell him how to make a fire and how to cook the fish he had caught. Following what he was being taught word by word, Naruto eventually had some fish that he could eat. When it was time for him to eat, however, he began to sob slightly. "Thank you so much, Jubi-sensei," the young boy told the only one he felt that cared for him, even though the massive entity had yet to say those exact words. The Jubi, however, understood why Naruto thanked him. The boy was used to eating rotten food or going without food for long periods of time. Now he was able to eat something he not only caught but also something that he cooked himself. All that was possible because of the enormous entity that told him he resided within his mindscape. Digging in, Naruto had his first taste of food that was not rotten. He couldn't stop sobbing while he ate, as it was the best food he had ever tasted. The Jubi, however, just looked at its host from within him, being able to feel what he truly felt. "I made the right choice. You will become great," young one-inch the one-eyed entity thought to himself because he could feel how grateful Naruto was, all because of some fish that the entity had taught him to catch and cook. When Naruto was done eating, the Jubi spoke to him. "Do you wish to talk now, young one?" The red-headed boy immediately nodded as he had many questions. He also felt a lot better after eating all 3 fish, although the Jubi knew that it would take some time for him to put on some weight and not be malnourished anymore. Doing what he did the previous day, Naruto began to meditate, only to find him sitting on one of the Jubi's tails once more. Well then, before we begin and before you bombard me with questions, how about we do something instead? You ask one question, I'll answer it. Then you can ask another and we do the same. Good? The Jubi asked and Naruto nodded while smiling. The entity then waited for the red-headed boy to ask his first question. Naruto, however, asked something he had been wanting to know for a very long time and hoped the Jubi could tell him. Jubi-sensei, why did those people hurt me so much? I never did anything to anyone. So why do they treat me like that? The Jubi saw and felt the sadness coming from Naruto and could also hear it in his tone of voice. It did not expect the young boy to start with that question, though the entity figured that he would want to know about that at some point. Might as well be now. What I'm about to tell you, young one, you must promise me to never tell anyone else. I'm going to tell you a lot and I'm going to do so with a story so that you can understand. Do you promise to never tell anyone of any of what I'm about to tell you? The Jubi asked, and it didn't have to wait long for Naruto to respond, for he at least knew what a promise was. Or more so, a broken promise. I promise, Jubi-sensei, was all that Naruto said before the Jubi then began to tell him the story of how everything began. First, the entity told him about the alien lady and her children, followed by the 9 creatures that came to be known as the Bijū. The Jubi told him that it had planned everything because not only was he bored, he also wanted to see what humanity would do with the power it was given. It was a very long story, one Naruto loved everything about, as the Jubi almost told it like some children's book that Naruto had seen some mothers reading for their children. The Jubi knew that it was the only way to tell Naruto of everything so that he could understand it, never using any big words that the young boy could not understand. Not once did Naruto interrupt the Jubi while it spoke to him, hanging on to the story it was telling him. The Jubi then told him the part he wanted to know, why he was so hated by seemingly everyone. It hurt Naruto to know that the Yondaime Hokage had used him to seal the Kyuubi in, as he had to endure a lot of pain because of that. His eyes, however, almost fell out of his eyes when the Jubi told him of how he came to be within him and also how the Jubi had helped him throughout his life. Naruto believed the Hokage to be strong, only now to hear that the entity within him could kill everything and everyone on the planet with ease. It just never did, simply because it didn't want to, and because the Jubi would be bored then if he did that. That is why they hate you, young one. They fear you because they think you are the reincarnation of the Kyuubi. Something that is not true, as I've just told you. To answer another question you might have while we're at it, I want you to know what Kekkei Genkai is as well as what Dojutsu is. So just bear with me? Can you do that? The entity asked his host and Naruto nodded, only feeling a little overwhelmed by everything he had just learned. Firstly, I'm not going to mention everything just yet. Only the basics, because I have given you a Dojutsu and Kekkei Genkai. You will not be able to use your Dojutsu for some time though. Yet your one Kekkei Genkai has been in effect since you were born. That is where the Jubi began to tell Naruto of what Dojutsu and Kekkei Genkai are, and that he was the one that created most of them. The only one he did not create was the Byakugan, as that came from the alien lady. The Jubi told him of his Dojutsu called the Rinne-Sharingan, and it was the eye the Jubi had but also different. The Kekkei Genkai that has been in effect since he was born, however, was a body one. It was what caused him to heal so fast. It was also the first of its kind, as the other body-healing Kekkei Genkai wasn't even close in comparison to his. The Kekkei Genkai didn't need chakra to heal small wounds or some big ones. It only needed chakra to heal fatal wounds. That shocked the young boy, only for the Jubi to tell him that he would need to train in it more to use it better, as at the moment, it only worked that way because of the Jubi being able to manipulate it to do just that. Now that he was old enough to start training, the Jubi would not help him anymore like that, as he needed to learn, something Naruto was eager to do and agreed with the Jubi. After he finished explaining to Naruto everything that he needed to, the Jubi told him that it was time for him to sleep, as they had a busy day the following day. Naruto, however, wanted to ask more questions, only to feel how truly tired he was once he was out of his mindscape. Learning everything he did was a bit much for the 5-year-old boy, so he just laid down where he sat and fell asleep within seconds of his head touching the ground. Life changed for Naruto after that day, and although it became more difficult, it did so in a good way, as the Jubi began training Naruto. First, he had to unlock his chakra, which he did rather easily. The Jubi did, however, from his part, hide Naruto's chakra so that no one could track him. The entity also told Naruto that he needed to do it at the moment, though he would be taught how to do so when the time comes. After unlocking his chakra, the Jubi had him more focused on learning how to hunt better. The reason for that being his body, as his sensei told him that he needed to eat more for his Kekkei Genkai to start healing his body with the nutrition he needed. It was something he needed to do before he could train in anything else because of his body at that time would not have been able it, even with his body healing Kekkei Genkai. Naruto did just that. He focused on hunting more, eating more and learning more about everything that his body needed to grow. That also meant learning about plants and its capabilities, the same with berries and everything else that came out of the ground that he could eat. The Jubi taught him everything. When asked how he knew all of the things he knew, the Jubi told him that it was not only because of him being the oldest entity ever, but also because of all the memories the massive creature had gotten when he got reformed from the previous 9 Bijū. It took Naruto a week, with the help of his Kekkei Genkai, to get rid of the malnourishment his body had as he put on enough weight to look like a normal 5-year-old boy that looked like he ate healthily. Then came the part Naruto enjoyed quite a lot, exercising. He was told to build up his stamina, something he already had quite a lot of because of all the running he did and because of another Kekkei Genkai he was born with. When the red-headed boy asked what it was called, the Jubi simply told him to call it at the moment his Uzumaki blood, and that he would tell the young boy a lot more about everything he still did not know about as the time progresses. It took him 3 months of non-stop exercises, each day before the Jubi told him that he was ready for the next step. Today I'll start teaching you how to control your chakra, young one. At the moment, you need this and it's going to take you a long time most likely for you to be able to use it even remotely properly. The reason for that being your chakra being as potent and strong as it currently is. There is one catch though. The Jubi began speaking to Naruto, who was listening and paying as much attention as possible to be able to learn more. What catch, Jubi-sensei? The young red-headed boy asked before the Jubi continued speaking. You will need to do 2 things. Firstly is training in chakra control to such a point that you'll be able to unlock your Rinne-Sharingan. Normally one does not need that much chakra control to use a dojutsu. Yours, however, needs a large amount of chakra control for you to use, or in your case, unlock yours. The massive entity spoke, giving Naruto a few seconds before he continued once again. The catch is not that, however. You will need to do so before your 6th birthday, or else you will never be able to unlock your dojutsu because of your chakra that is growing more and more each day. If you do not have good enough mastery over your chakra by then and you can't unlock your dojutsu, then you also won't be able to become a shinobi. That shocked the young red-headed boy into him almost falling over his own feet while standing still. What? But how? Why? He asked in a state of emergency, sounding quite distressed for the Jubi at that moment. You will have too much chakra by then, that no matter how many hours of training you put into chakra control exercises, it would never be enough. The reason why you need to unlock your dojutsu by then is because it grants complete chakra control to the part, no matter how much chakra one has. That is why you will train every single day for the next year in chakra control, the massive one-eyed entity told the 5-year-old boy, whose eyes were almost falling out of his head at what he was told. Shaking himself from his thoughts, Naruto smiled and told the Jubi that he will do it no matter what. He was also excited at not only learning so much but also at unlocking his very own dojutsu, the Rinne-Sharingan, the eye that the Jubi told him had no equal. Naruto was also surprised to hear that he would have that much chakra at his age. It confused him slightly because the Jubi had yet to tell him everything. The one-eyed entity had, however, promised to tell him when he turned 6 and that by then, he would help Naruto in learning something the young boy had always wanted to learn: reading and writing. At the moment it was a little impossible, even with all the knowledge the Jubi had. Said being had told him that on his next birthday, that he will have to start going back into Konoha to be able to learn even more from the books they had. Naruto just didn't know how that was going to be possible because of how he got treated. The only response he got was, "Don't worry, I'll show you once we get there," which was good enough for him. For the next few months, Naruto improved in his hunting skills and learned more each month about everything that he needed to eat to continue growing. He also got into his training for his chakra control, something that started completely different than what he had thought at first. After unlocking his chakra, Naruto had to mold it onto his feet to be able to climb a tree without using his hands. At first, that seemed impossible for Naruto until he began doing it. It took him a month just to get stuck on the tree, while yet taking a step. 3 months later, Naruto finally reached the middle of the tree that he used to practice his chakra control. Another month passed when the red-headed boy was finally able to get to the top of the tree, using only his chakra. He was excited and happy about what he had achieved, only to hear that it was the easy part that he completed. What followed was even harder and took Naruto even longer to get a hold of. Water walking. In the first 3 weeks he was unable to even stand on the water, no matter how little chakra he used. It was only a week after when he was making a little bit of progress by being able to stand on the water with one foot. That only lasted a few seconds before he lost control and fell into the water once more. 3 months later was when he finally got enough control over his chakra that he was able to stand on the water and even walk on it for a few minutes. Anything more than that, he was unable to do, and the Jubi told him that it was good enough. Any more control would be impossible for him no matter how long he trained. He was very lucky as well, for his 6th birthday was drawing very close. Almost a little too close for comfort for both of them. Good, young one. Now comes the part where you need to be very careful, or else you will lose your eyes, the Jubi said, causing Naruto to gulp in nervousness. He knew that if he messed this up, it was all over. Kekkei Genkai or not. One mistake and he would lose his dojutsu forever, then it was all over for him. The Jubi told him that he would not be able to do anything after that because of his chakra and how much he had. If the massive entity tried anything, Naruto could die. That was something that confused the young boy at one point, only for the Jubi to tell him that even though the one-eyed being could do almost anything, he could not help Naruto in that regard. He was also told that it was the Jubi's fault then because the chakra that ran through him was the same chakra the Jubi had, just a lot less. The Jubi was also unable to do anything because Naruto's body would not be able to handle it, healing Kekkei Genkai or not. That is what drove Naruto to train as much as he could, for he had accepted everything the Jubi had given him, even though he had to train to get it and make it his own. Sitting down on the ground next to the small lake Naruto had used for almost an entire year, he quickly calmed himself and did what the Jubi told him. Control your chakra, young one, as much as you can and use as little as you possibly can. Then all you have to do is to direct your chakra towards your eyes. He did just that, only for the Jubi to speak to him once more. There is something that I forgot to mention. Your eyes, they won't look entirely like mine at first. You'll have a weaker version, one that also looks different in color. Also, once you achieve your eyes, which I know you'll be able to do, you will never be able to turn them off. Don't worry though, as once it's unlocked it doesn't keep taking chakra. In fact, it never requires chakra again unless you start using the abilities that come with the eyes or the abilities that I know you'll be able to make in the future yourself. That shocked Naruto a little. I'm about to lose my current eyes then? He asked, and the Jubi was quick to answer. So to speak, yes, was all the one-eyed entity said. Naruto liked his eyes as had come to like purple, although he did not care for that because, for one other than the Jubi, he had no one. With that aside, Naruto went back into concentrating on using his chakra. He used as little as possible with as much control he had, then directed the flow of chakra towards his eyes. When the chakra reached his eyes, Naruto fell on his knees and began to yell in pain while holding eyes. Oh shit, I forgot to tell him that it will hurt. The Jubi, though, as Naruto continued to yell for a few seconds before he fell to the ground, groaning a little after the pain resided. What happened, Jubi-sensei? Why did it hurt so much? It felt like my eyes were going to explode, Naruto said, and the Jubi took a little too long to reply for Naruto's taste. Jubi-sensei? Yeah, I kinda forgot to mention that part, came the Jubi's reply nonchalantly, causing Naruto to do something he had never done before. He yelled at the one-eyed being for how he could act every so often. Sensei, that's just cruel. Naruto yelled while acting like a child, something he never really got to be even though he still is one. The Jubi himself then did something the massive entity had never done before. He laughed at the antiques of Naruto, finding it funny how he was acting. Don't worry, young one. That was the only pain you had to endure. Now, go look at your reflection in the water, the massive entity told the young boy, who just gruffed a little while muttering something about his stupid sensei. That was something the Jubi smiled at, even though he could not show it. Naruto still acted like a child now and then, when it was taken away from him. It was a painful thing to do, yet the Jubi knew that Naruto would be able to handle it and even complete what he needed to do. Reaching the water, which was only a few steps away from where Naruto was when he unlocked his eyes, the young boy looked into the water to see his reflection. What he saw shocked him and even made him forget about the little bit of anger he had at his sensei. Staring back at him was not his old violet eyes, although they were still purple. Now his entire eyeballs were purple with a small pupil in the middle, followed by a ripple pattern that spread throughout in both eyes. There were also one tomo in both eyes, something the Jubi had told him about. Naruto also saw that his eyes gave off a slight glow, though one would have to be extremely close to see it. Wow, they are beautiful, the redhead commended, allowing the Jubi to speak one more. That they are, young one. They are also very powerful, which is something that we will need to hide for now, the entity within his mindscape to him, causing Naruto to stand up straight. He did not have time to ask what he wanted to as the Jubi continued to talk. There are forces within this world that would do anything to have your eyes, young one. They would try to kill you, just because of everything those eyes are capable of. I'm going to teach you a very simple jutsu that you will use for now to hide your eyes, showing your normal eyes. In time, you will need to learn a different technique to hide them, which you will have to do until you're strong enough to defend yourself. At the moment, the jutsu I will teach will only be able to hide your eyes in their current form. I will get into the forms you have a bit later though. For now, do as I say. Also know that you have excellent chakra control now. Not perfect, yet. You just have a way to get perfect chakra control now, as your eyes will be able to help you in more than one way. The Jubi finished talking, showing him and teaching him the simple genjutsu that he needed to use that will be able to hide his eyes, even from the Byakugan and the Sharingan. It was only temporary, however, and would not last long, nor would it be able to hide them from the advanced Sharingan or Master Byakugan user. Doing what he saw through images the Jubi sent to him via thoughts, Naruto got it on the first try, which made him happy. He looked back into the water to see his reflection, being greeted by his normal violet eyes as if nothing had ever happened. Wow, that's so cool, Jubi-sensei. What are we doing next? Naruto asked, willing and eager to learn whatever he could. Naruto had seen that his vision was completely different than what it normally was, but decided to ask about that later, as he knew that eventually he will be taught everything about his eyes. He didn't need to use them or their power now. He only needed to unlock it so that he could continue training using his chakra, something he couldn't wait to do. Now, before anything else, send a little amount of chakra to your eyes again to return your vision to what it normally was. I'll tell you what the vision is you're currently experiencing another time, the entity within Naruto said, and he happily obliged, resulting in his normal vision returning. Good. For your next part in learning, you'll have to sneak into that book place that every city seems to have, if my memory is correct. It's called the library. We won't take any chances, so make sure that you are not spotted. When you're inside, you're going to borrow the books I tell you to get, was what the Jubi told his student, refraining from using the word steal, and instead made it seem like Naruto will borrow the books without asking anyone for them. They had stolen so much from the young boy already that the Jubi saw it was okay for him to do the same, especially if it contributed to his learning, something that was supposed to be given to him for free. Okay, Jubi-sensei, Naruto replied shortly, taking off in a run afterward as he went to the library. Luckily for both of them, Naruto knew where the place was. He used to hide behind it many times when he got chased by a mob of people until they found him there after a few times. It took him the entire day to get there, as the Jubi had told him to only run towards the place, while the entity also directed him out of the forest, while also sensing to make sure no one was close to Naruto to spot him. Truth be told, the Jubi could sense the entirety of the elemental nations if he wanted to, although the entity knew that if he did that, he would attract unwanted people to Naruto because of how potent his chakra is. The Jubi also wanted Naruto to sneak into the library when it was night time, something the one-eyed entity knew he would have to direct Naruto to do, as the place would then most likely be closed. Hiding close to the place of interest they wanted to be in, the red-headed boy waited for the sun to go down. When the time came, however, Naruto couldn't see in front of him. It wasn't a full moon night, and the place where the library was located was dark. Not knowing how he was to do this, let alone look for books in the dark, Naruto calmed himself to talk to his friend. Only, said friend had already thought of everything as the Jubi spoke up first. Young one, use a small amount of chakra for your dojutsu again. Confused, Naruto did what he was told, only to become more confused when he saw that everything suddenly become brighter, almost like the sun never went down in the first place. Now he wanted to know even more about his eyes and what they could do, only for the Jubi to remind him of why they were here and that they needed to hurry. Being as quiet as possible and using the stealth he had at his young age from all the hiding and running he was used to, Naruto quickly got into the library with the Jubi's help. He had to break a window to get in and was lucky that he was able to do it without drawing attention to himself. After that, he waited for a few minutes while the Jubi made sure no one was close to him or coming towards the library at the sound of glass breaking. When he knew that he was in the clear, Naruto went to work in finding everything the Jubi told him to get. They didn't know what kind of books the library had, so they had to search for what they needed. Naruto was amazed that with his eyes he could see in the dark, as it would have been impossible to see where he was going and not knock a bookshelf over. The Jubi looked through Naruto's eyes to see what the young boy would need. As Naruto himself didn't just know what he needed, he couldn't read anything from what he saw. It was completely new to him, something that also made him sad because of how old he already was and he couldn't even read, let alone write. Don't worry, young one, that will change soon. Think about this as well. Not only will you learn how to read and write now, but you'll also learn how to do advanced writing with what I'm going to show you, the Bijū told Naruto, who in return stopped dead in his tracks in confusion. He knew what the word advanced meant, as the Bijū had told him. What do you mean, Bijū-sensei? The redhead asked his tenant, wanting to clear the confusion from his head. I'll tell you, though don't ask any questions after that, okay? We don't have a lot of time before someone could come in here once they see the broken window. This is a shinobi village, remember? And they most likely have those ants patrolling the village, came the Bijū's answer, referring to the other humans as ants yet again, something Naruto had gotten used to. He agreed, which had the Bijū continue talking once more. What you'll learn, and I believe what you'll love, is an art called fuinjutsu. To use the art, one needs to be very good at writing. That's all I can say at the moment. For now, keep looking at the books and I'll tell you which ones you need to take, doing what the big guy told him to do, as Naruto could refer him as he quickly went through the shelves while looking at the books. It didn't take long before they found their first one that they Bijū called Children's Book, A to Z. The second book they got was called Children's Book, Writing. They got 2 more books after that, one called Dictionary and the other one being a simple yet small reading book for children as well. Naruto was unable to carry any more than 4 books, so he quickly went to the exit. Using his chakra control, Naruto was able to simply walk up the wall before climbing through the window he had broken that was located high on the wall at the back of the library. It took him a little longer to climb through the window with books in his arms, as the window itself was not a big one. He could fit through it comfortably, only with books that became slightly more difficult. Naruto landed on the ground and the Bijū kept its senses up to make sure they were alone, which they luckily were. When the redhead knew that he was in the clear once more, he headed towards the forest he came from while still doing his best to hide away from anyone that could see him. The time being close to midnight was how they were able to miss all civilians, although the shinobi populace that was patrolling the village was still wide awake. Only, they did not see Naruto, which the young boy was glad about. After a few more minutes of running, Naruto got to the forest he came from and went into it, going back to the place he used to train near the lake. When he finally arrived at the place, the Bijū spoke up. Young one, do not put your books down just yet. I want you to find a place where you can sleep better than you have for the past few months. Look for either a cave, if this place has one, or look for a tree that might also have a hole at the bottom that you could use as a sort of home, came his words, and Naruto did just that, as he wanted to have a place he could call his home, for the time being at least. Half an hour later, Naruto found a small cave. The entrance was blocked by bushes, ones that had a lot of thorns on, unfortunately, yet he called it a lucky find as now he had a place he could sleep at. It was also an unoccupied cave, something that was strange because of where they were. Naruto just thought that it was maybe because of the thorns that the cave was vacant, he didn't know or care. Now it was his and he loved it. Within the cave, Naruto placed his books on one side against the wall. He could see where he was going at least, thanking his Rinne-Sharingan for that, as the cave was pitch black in darkness otherwise. Not wanting to do anything else at the time, Naruto just laid down and fell asleep after he bade the Bijū a good night. That was the start of where Naruto truly began to learn. Being deprived of everything that any other child was supposed to be taught, he not only had to fight for what he wanted at his young age but got taught by an entity more powerful than anything else that has ever walked the earth. He also made a friend, teacher, and partner from said entity, something he was eternally grateful for. Naruto showed it in a way the Bijū was proud of by training. Each day he would learn what the Bijū told him was in the books, what every alphabet letter was and how to write it. Because he didn't have paper nor a pen, the Bijū had him write in the sand using a stick, just so he could start learning how to write. Time passed and eventually, Naruto had to sneak back into the library for a few reading books as he had finished the one he first borrowed. With that said, he also put back the very first storybook he read. That was one thing Naruto started to love reading. He even got to the point where he had to start reading the dictionary he took to expand his vocabulary. During that time, however, the Bijū had him work on chakra control exercises. The tree walking and water walking ones coming to him like second nature. After that, he learned chakra balancing while using a stick to hold on the palm of his hand and to make sure it didn't fall over. Because of his dojutsu, Naruto mastered that exercise rather fast with a time span of 2 weeks, all the while still reading and continuing to learn how to write, till he became fluent in both after 1 year. When he wanted to learn about fuinjutsu, the Bijū told him that he would need special equipment for that, as it was something you couldn't do with just a pen and paper. The Jubi had also told Naruto, after his 7th birthday, that he would have to learn everything the world has to offer on his own from then on, as he would need the experience with that. That did not mean that the Jubi would stop talking to him or stop helping. On the contrary. Naruto had, when he turned 7, gotten one more tomo in each eye while they both stayed purple. It was also on his 7th birthday that the Jubi had revealed even more to the young boy, as he also needed to train him in using his eyes and to tell him what they, or rather he was capable of. Young one, it is time for you to learn more about everything that had been hidden from you. I know you can handle it, so I want you to get comfortable and get in here so that we can talk, the Jubi had told him the night of his 7th birthday while the boy was within his home. Eager to learn more, or more specifically learn the truth about what he did not know, Naruto sat down against the wall within his cave and entered his mindscape, finding himself sitting on one of the Jubi's tails once again. Okay, Jubi-sensei, what is it that you wanted to tell me? This is going to be a lot, so just bear with me. After I'm done talking, you can ask all the questions you want, or even by then, vent out the anger you might feel, came the Jubi's voice as Naruto nodded and waited for his teacher to continue. The very first thing that he told Naruto was something the young boy wanted to know since the beginning. Or more specifically, since he could understand what a family was. He wanted to know why he didn't have one, who his mom and dad were. For the Jubi to then tell him that it was none other than the one who sealed the Kyuubi within him, made Naruto angry. Angry that it was his very own father, the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato, who had condemned him to the pain he had to endure for so long. It was his dad who put trust in the wrong people that he understood. He wanted to hit something and he wanted to scream just to let out a little bit of the anger he felt at that moment. So the Jubi told him that he could scream at least as no one was within the forest at that moment. Doing just that, the young boy screamed at the top of his lungs. How could he? He yelled afterward, only start calming down after a few minutes. Then the Jubi told him why his dad did what he did, as he also then revealed to Naruto the one thing he didn't mention so long ago. That being why they Kyuubi attacked. To learn that the entity that was formed from his sensei was controlled, got Naruto to calm down a lot, only for him to get angry at the person who caused him all of this. That, however, only lasted a few minutes as Naruto began to think about everything that he had to endure until this point. It made him so much more thankful for everything his sensei did and taught him, bringing him to tears yet again for the same reason he cried before. Accepting what he learned and not asking any questions as the Jubi told him to, Naruto waited for his tenant to continue talking, which the one-eyed entity did almost immediately. Finding out who his dad was brought him some pain, although he knew that with time that the pain he had would go away as he was an understanding boy. Then came not only the identity of who his mother was but also her story. Uzumaki Kushina, the red hot-blooded habanero of Konohagakure, the girl who came from the now almost extinct clan of the Uzumaki that once resided in Yuzushigakure no Sato, a village that got destroyed because of the other hidden villages fearing their power of Fuinjutsu, almost had Naruto scream yet again. So they destroyed my clan because they were scared of a possible threat. Then I will bring back Fuinjutsu for my clan. Even though I never knew them, the young red-headed boy declared with pride in his voice. He would not fall into hatred, that he had promised not only himself but also his sensei. Sure, he got angry, he just didn't let that anger turn into hate, as that was not someone he wanted to be. Naruto was also told that the Jubi knew all of that because of the Hachibi holder at the time, for the Jinchuriki back then was a part of everything concerning the fall of Yuzushigakure. It made Naruto glad that the entity within him made a plan so long ago to reform itself, then to get all the memories the previous 9 Bijū. The redhead had a little bit of anger for his dad, while having not only having the world's respect for his mother but also so much love for her that he even started to sob. He found it cruel that he had to grow up with her in his life, only to find out something that almost had him fall over in shock. Naruto, your parents left so much for you, although your mother more so. All of their belongings and everything they had, they left for you. I saw the Kyuubi, who was your mother's previous host, reading a will through her eyes when the other part of me was still within her before getting ripped out of her. I will lead you to where it is once you feel you're ready. We just have to be very careful, for it's a very unknown place and there might be a lot of ants patrolling where the place is, because of who your father was, the Jubi told the still sobbing young boy as he got a hold of himself before he nodded, really wanting to see what his mother left for him and to some extent his dad. After that, the Jubi got even more serious and Naruto could almost feel it from within him. Young one, while that might all be a bit much to take, what I'm about to tell you is even more so. You cannot, no matter if you become a shinobi and have the Hokage be your leader, ever tell anyone, unless you fully trust that person and know they would not tell anyone else either. Understand? The Jubi asked and Naruto told him that he did, resulting in the one-eyed entity continue speaking. You know what your eyes are called and that there isn't a dojutsu in existence that could even be on the same table as what you have. Even at its current state, no other eye can compare. Although I want you to know, never only rely on your eyes. Though I believe you already know that part quite well, the young boy only nodded at that while listening to his sensei. Now, to start with the explanation of the tomo in your eyes and why you keep getting more, just know that I made them like that for you. Think of it as levels. Each time you get more tomo in each eye, the stronger you get and the more abilities you unlock with every single tomo. The max you will be able to reach are 9 tomo in each eye. The first 2 tomo in each eye are the easiest ones, as you only need to have more chakra and have better control over that chakra to get them. I will explain each tomo's abilities a bit later. Now, the third tomo in each eye is a little more difficult to get, as you need to not only have even more chakra to get them, but you also need to be a lot stronger. As in Jonin level strong, as that level also resembles a fully matured Sharingan, the Jubi then waited a few seconds before continuing. The tomo after that, however, requires so much more. By then, when you unlock a tomo, you only unlock 1 per eye. You'll have to then unlock the other eye's tomo to progress, till you have 9 tomo in each eye. The last 2 tomo, however, is near impossible to unlock. I have faith in you, however, young one. For not only when you unlock those tomo do you become even more stronger, but I will also have a surprise for you by then. Naruto was smiling at what the Jubi said and couldn't wait to keep training and learning whatever he could. It almost sounded like he was playing a game with the Jubi, which made him excited though also made him serious as the power he holds sounded like a lot. I hope I'm worthy of that, sensei. But don't worry, I'll do my very best. I know you will, young one. You'll just need to train like no one else has ever before. It would be good to have someone train with you and to get someone you could trust, although I don't think that might happen anytime soon. Those ants don't deserve anything. They would also most likely only try to use you once you reveal everything to them when the time comes. More so when they come to know that the power you hold can't be stolen nor will it ever be passed down. Well, the Rinne-Sharingan, that confused the redhead, so he voiced his thoughts. What do you mean by that, Jubi-sensei? Figuring that Naruto would ask just that, the Jubi elaborated. It means that one day, and if you have children, they won't have your eyes or your chakra. However, that's not something we should be talking about now, as you're way too young for that or anything related to that. Naruto, however, the eager boy he was to learn, wanted to know more, although those thoughts stopped when the Jubi told him to not ask about that just yet because of his age. Accepting that, Naruto left his mindscape as his sensei told him that it was time for him to continue learning, while he also had a few other things that he wanted to teach the young redhead. Today was Naruto's 8th birthday and the young boy was extremely happy. After his talk with his sensei, the young boy dove even more into his training that the huge entity provided. Each day he would work himself till he dropped to the ground in exhaustion from what the Jubi had him do. Naruto learned to better control his already excellent chakra control. He had to improve in that aspect as each day his chakra would grow more and more, all because of the exercises he did while also hunting for various food sources. The young boy also only once visited the place his parents lived in, although he did not enter is because of how many shinobi he saw that roamed the place every few hours or so. It did look, however, that no one was able to enter it as no one ever tried. He did not know why that was but figured that they respected the house of the yondaime and his wife and did not want to touch anything of theirs without permission. That was when the Jubi told him that he was most likely the only person on earth that was allowed to enter the place, as he was their child and they most likely placed a fuinjutsu on the place that required his blood to enter it. While in the Forest of Death, Naruto had also started to learn how to fight. It got to the point where he would search for anything to fight that lived in the massive forest, which he was quite lucky because of how many beasts and insects lived within the woods that were big enough to eat him. He began training against them, learning how to fight them without using his eyes or his chakra. The point of that being that he needed to become faster and needed to learn how to hit harder without the use of chakra to enhance himself, something the Jubi told him he could do because of how excellent chakra control, though he should not try it just yet because he was inexperienced in it. After a while, the Jubi gave something to Naruto via the shared mindscape. It was a unique fighting style, a style the Jubi created with all the knowledge the entity had. While he only created it within his mind, the Jubi did say that he would give the credit of the style being created by his student, something Naruto did not want until the Jubi told him that it was another gift the entity had for the boy. Accepting it after some time, Naruto began training in his very own taijutsu style. While not having someone to spar against, he did, however, have the creatures of the Forest of Death to fight against. although that only got him so far as the Jubi told him that for him to advance, he would need to fight against someone. Be that sparring or an actual fight. He accepted that he would need someone in his life again at one point, someone that wasn't the Jubi, as the entity would be with him forever. The young boy, however, was reluctant to try and find a friend as he didn't trust anyone other than his sensei. The Jubi then trained him in something that came from his once-upon-a-time Kyubi part, something that would allow him to sense negativity from people. He also began teaching Naruto how to sense, something that the young boy took to like a fish takes to water, like he did most things the Jubi taught him. Another thing he revealed to Naruto was that he would one day have all the power and abilities the previous Bijū had, and so much more. It was a little strange for the young boy because he did not know what he would do with so much power, though the Jubi told him that he would figure it out as he was a smart boy and not someone who was power-hungry. In that time, Naruto had also grown a lot. At the moment he stood at 4 feet 3 inches, 131 centimeters, which was tall for an 8-year-old boy. He had on a red t-shirt and blue shorts while still being barefoot. Those clothes were clothes that he had borrowed once he had gone to the library for the 5th time to get more reading books. While in the library, he stumbled upon a lost and found basket that had the clothes he currently wore, along with other things that he did not take as he didn't want it to seem obvious that he took them. His hair, however, grew even longer and spikier as it currently reached just below his shoulders. The color of his hair also seemed to get a little brighter. Something Naruto didn't mind, as red was his favorite color, for obvious reasons. He wanted to have his hair cut a little as he didn't see any point in having them that long. That was until the Jubi told him that maybe he could acquire a jutsu along the way that uses hair, something akin to maybe an offensive jutsu or even a defensive one. Liking the idea, he kept it long and would let it continue to grow, even if it currently looked a bit dirty because of where he lived. Naruto at the moment as taking a bath in the river that was close to where he lived, his clothes on the tree stump that was just a few feet away from the river. After cleaning himself, he quickly got out of the water as he wanted to train more in his taijutsu style, a style that was like second nature to him as it fitted so well with him and how he liked to move. He was busy putting on his pants, not sensing anything as he believed to be alone, while the Jubi was sleeping when suddenly Naruto heard a gasp. Jumping into a defensive stance, Naruto looked around without sensing still. "Who's there? Come out if you know what's good for you." He spoke in a serious tone of voice, only to get a burst of laughter in response as an older woman with purple hair tied in a funny way came out from behind a tree. He was about to speak again when another woman came out from behind the tree and stood next to the purple-haired woman. The second woman had unkempt black hair, wore clothes almost similar to the first woman, and had red eyes. When Naruto saw her, he almost fell over in shock at how beautiful her eyes were. He dropped his stance slightly while looking at the woman with red eyes, all the while his mouth opened up slightly as well. This caught both women's attention, and it got them both to scoff at how such a young boy was already looking at one of them. Great! Another pervert, and one so young. What is becoming of this world? The red-eyed woman thought as she was about to speak, not liking how the young boy in front of her was looking at her. That was until Naruto spoke first while still looking at the red-eyed lady. "Wow, you have beautiful eyes," was all he said, only so smile slightly afterward, then getting into his fighting stance again with a serious look in his eyes. What he said shocked not only the red-eyed woman but also the purple-haired one, as they could only look at the young boy with curiosity. "He complimented my eyes? He did not look at me like everyone else did," she thought while looking at the boy, seeing that he now had a serious look in his eyes that got them both to be on guard. "Who is this boy, and what on earth is he doing in here of all places?" were the thoughts of the red-eyed woman, not knowing that similar thoughts were running through the purple-haired woman's mind. "Hey kid, what are you doing here?" the purple-haired woman asked, already forgetting the threat the young boy had spoke not even 2 minutes ago. Getting an even more serious look on his face while also seemingly looking angry, Naruto spoke up. "I live here. What about you two? Are you here to kill me?" he asked, shocking both of them. "Impossible. No one lives here and no one can. This place kills people just for entering it unless you're strong enough to enter this forest, which I doubt this boy is," the purple-haired woman thought while the same thoughts ran through the red-eyed woman's mind. Then both of them grew even more wide-eyed when their brains registered the last part the boy asked. "Why on earth would we want to kill you, kid? And how can you live here? Do you know where you are at all and what this place is called?" the purple-haired woman asked, which the red-eyed woman also wanted to know. "Well, because you won't be the first ones from that place that wants to kill me, and I live here because I can and because I was driven into this forest. It was either that or get killed because those people in that place are blind and full of hatred." Lastly, no, I do not know what this place is called, nor do I care. I know what's in this forest and they don't scare me. You could say, however, that I scare them. Naruto spoke in a serious tone of voice while keeping his eyes on them. All the while his senses were on high alert as he didn't want to get any surprises. The Jubi, however, was still asleep. Not that Naruto minded. His answer shocked the two women even more as they couldn't believe something like that happened. Yet here was the boy in front of him, while he sure looked like he lived here if his clothes and hair gave away any indication. He still hadn't put on his shirt because he just finished bathing not that long ago, and both women could see that for someone so young. He sure seemed to be able to take care of himself as his muscles showed, albeit slightly. Let's all just calm down, okay? We're not here to fight. I and my friend here were just looking for a place to train, as we also know what lurks within this forest. I am sorry if we gave off the wrong impression. We aren't here to harm you, I promise. The red-eyed woman spoke up for the first time, and Naruto had to say that he liked her voice as it was pretty. He quickly used his skills that his sensei taught him, the skill to see if they had any ill intent towards him. Not finding any, he nodded and stood straight while still being shirtless. Well, okay then, I believe you for now. If you want any creatures to fight, I suggest going into that direction as there are many there, Naruto said while pointing west, something that shocked both women yet again. Wait, don't tell me you fight them? Those monsters are bigger than you? The purple-haired woman almost yelled out in shock, as she truly was stunned at what the boy was saying and even giving them directions. Not that they needed any though. Well yeah, I fight them as often as I can. It's a little hard to train by yourself, the boy said, something that yet again shocked both women as they couldn't believe what they were hearing. They were about to retort to what he said, only for him to move to where his shirt still laid. Picking it up, he put it on and was about to leave. Wait, why don't you come with us? It's not safe in this forest. Even if you say that you fight the beasts that live here. We can help you, and I know that our Hokage would want to know about all of this as well. The red-eyed woman spoke as Naruto stopped dead in his tracks. Turning towards the women slightly once more, Naruto locked eyes with the red-eyed woman. No thank you. While I appreciate that, I'm not going back there again. At least not now. I don't trust anyone, as that place never did anything except hurt me. You're Hokage amongst them, although I doubt he still remembers me. You two take care and stay safe, he said before leaving, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Both women were shocked once more, not just by what he said, but also by his speed. Nai-chan, what we just saw, was that real, or did you put one of your genjutsu on me? The purple-haired woman asked while still standing with a look of disbelief on her face. That was no genjutsu, Anko. Whoever that boy is, he's very mature for his age and he looks so young. We need to find out who he is. What he said, however, sounds somewhat familiar, don't you agree? The red-eyed woman asked her friend, who in return nodded. They both slightly remember a young boy that once lived in Konoha that was treated like garbage. While they never met him or know what he looked like, they did head about the curse of Konoha and that at one point, the boy just disappeared. Not knowing what else to do or say, both women just went along with what they came to the Forest of Death to do in the first place. To train. All the while the red-eyed woman couldn't stop thinking about the young boy as she quite liked his hair. More specifically the color of his hair. Red is my favorite color. Though who was that? I need to find out, and soon. For someone so young to be living in this place. She thought, only for those thoughts to keep running through her mind while she and her friend went deeper into the forest. The purple-haired woman, however, saw the look on her friend's face while they went to their destination as they traveled via jumping from tree to tree. You sure are interested in a boy that you just met, Nai-chan. Sure I am, as well as what he said intrigued me, and to find someone that lives in this place is quite exciting. But you, however, seem to have taken a liking to a boy you just met, the woman thought as a smirk appeared on her face. On that went unseen by the red-eyed woman. The Ice Queen of Konoha and aspiring genjutsu mistress taking a liking into someone. Now that's rare. Whoever you are, boy, we will meet you again sooner than you think. All the while Naruto returned to his cave, making sure no one followed him, especially now that he has been found out after so long. He knew that one day people would find him most likely, as the forest was a part of Konoha's property after all. Naruto just didn't think that it would be so soon, for he still needed to train a lot more. The young red-headed boy also didn't want to stay in the forest forever as he wanted to accomplish something with his life. So for two women to run into him wasn't that big of a surprise to him. Maybe I'll meet them again? I just hope they don't try to attack me again like those other people did so long ago. As this time I'm not taking any more crap from anyone, Naruto thought before he laid down. closing his eyes to take a nap for the day.